Welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series. We are back after EMEA, and it is match day 5 here in NA, which means for them it is also about to mark the halfway point of Split 2. Now, will we see teams start to pull away or continue, in some cases, away from the pack? Or will we start to see some of those underdogs surprising us here? After what we saw in EMEA, I know that we are in for an absolute banger of a day. My name is Glitter Explosion, and I'll be your host today. And we've got to bring in our dynamic duo back this time for the region, Vicky and Gino. Vicky, are you reset and ready for NA now?
I am so ready. I cannot wait to see how the action plays out, especially seeing a lot of changes coming in, not just from EMEA, but into NA as well. Halfway through the season, and you can't even believe it, honestly. I blinked and time just flew by, but this is where it all matters now, Glitter.
Absolutely. And Genome, I feel like we're looking at that overall leaderboard right now. The new super team and Team Falcons are just running away with it due to their consistency. With who else we have in the lobby right now? Do you think they're catchable?
Do I think they're catchable? No. Frankly, no. I mean, come on, it's the super team. Yeah, look, can they lose in a match point lobby? Yeah, absolutely. Could happen to anyone. Can anyone take them out in the regular season? I wouldn't be touching that one.
You know, I think Dan agrees with you, because he was saying something similar yesterday after the performance that we saw out of them. Their consistency right now is just so unmatched. So they're definitely a team we're going to be talking about a lot, because they'll be back here today alongside some other big names. Now, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, the performance yesterday, we'll take a look back as, in case you missed it, it was match day 4 yesterday. We've been saying it's an ALGS packed weekend, and like we saw in EMEA, we got a lot of variety when it came to who was winning our matches. Not Moist kicking off the day with a win, but at the end of the day, it was a similar situation where everyone was fighting for those last minute points here, Vicky.
Yeah, it was honestly crazy to see the outcome with 6 different teams taking all 6 different games, all the way to the very end with Elevate taking that dub. Slayers was having a crazy day, but honestly, across the board, Lux with 5.8k damage. I mean, that's the consistency that we got to see from these teams.
Yeah, I mean, Moist coming out there. I mean, was that was their first official game together, right? And
yes.
They took the win with 11 kills. What a great way to say, you know, this was a positive team change for us and a positive direction for the team.
And this is what we're talking about here. Okay, this is the gap that I was mentioning when I asked you, Genome. I mean, Team Falcons, 3 series played, 67 points, and everybody else, with the exception of Furia on that top page, also at 3 series, and there's just such a big point disparity right now. Part of that was due to the fact that, while SSG was kind of matching Team Falcons' performance yesterday and throughout the rest of the match days, they struggled when it came to match day 4, and that created that gap, allowing Team Falcons to start to run away with it. But so many other teams up here in this top page, LG, TSM, Complexity, SKT, Energy. I mean, we have so many of those top squads fighting for that second place bubble almost. It's going to be insane. And then as we move to the second page, things don't get any easier for our squads on page 2, Vicky.
They don't. There is a lot of teams out here that have only played those 2 match days, today being their 3rd day that they could really start kicking things off. I mean, talking about having to fight for that second place spot is crazy in its own way, considering how strong and how leading Team Falcons has been with their points. And looking at the second page here, I mean, I'm looking at teams like Elevate continuing on their own domination here. I mean, they have been able to play 3 series thus far with 27 points. Even looking at Liquid here, who have been falling off just a little bit, but what can Not Moist do in the future to really kick off this roster and the changes that they've brought in, Gino?
Yeah, and as having a look here at our bottom 10 teams out of the 30 that are in the NA Pro League, we've got teams like Disguise, who, I think frankly got the worst end of that trade that we've just seen between the 2 teams, and that means it's going to be hard for them to move up with only 4 points to their name right now. Teams like Cloud9, who was struggling a little bit off the back of such a great LAN performance, as well as teams like EEC, who I would have expected to see a little bit higher.
Well, like we just said, we've got a couple teams that we just saw in those highlights playing again here today. So for now, we'll take a look at which groups will be participating in match day number 5. You'll obviously recognize quite a few as we have groups A and C going head to head here, Vicky.
Yeah, I love how Gino brought up CCE. That's definitely a team that I'm looking out for too, as well as Elevate once again. I love also how we bring up C9 and their lackluster performance so far within Pro League. But the teams that I have to also highlight, Furia and Disguise, are two teams that today, I mean, who knows what to expect here, as well as seeing like what Liquid can now bring to the table for game 3, or rather match day 3 for themselves.
Anybody on this list jumping out to you here, Gino?
I'm certainly looking at teams like SSG, who have just been on the heels of Falcons. If we're talking about anyone who can really catch up to them, it seems like they are one of the top contenders there. But then, interestingly, even with the new additions to teams like like Native Gaming, like Snipe Down, there's been so many roster changes mid-season that it'll be fascinating to see how these new teams perform together.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot yesterday. Not only kind of updating everybody on that midseason mayhem, but also talking to Snipe Down a little bit about what we can expect out of that squad here today and their performance. So excited to see what they do bring to the table. Now, in ALGS, you guys are very used to this, but obviously we have to break our teams into these groups so that we can make sure everyone is playing against each other the same amount of times when we go through our round robin throughout the split. Well, our top team, Team Falcons, is in Group A, and we do have a clip of Zero giving his thoughts on the teams in Group C, who they will be facing in today's matches.
No. In Group C? Yeah, DSG having a breakdown. Liquid have been having a breakdown for 3 months. Fury is f***ing bad. This entire bottom row f***ing awful. These guys suck. And these guys got 6 at land because they got 7 zones. And other than that, they're pretty mid.
It gets me every time. It gets me every time. Genome, your face.
Yeah, look, I think there's a reason why Zero's stream numbers have been going up recently, and that's one of them, because man knows how to make a statement.
Okay, well, we do have to talk about some of those teams, right? We know who's participating in today's groups. We heard Zero's thoughts on it, but Genome, I also want to get your thoughts on this. And before we do that, first, we also do have Enemy's thoughts, obviously, on Timmy's decision to leave DSG and do that roster swap onto Not Moist.
To give the summary of it, I mean, one, obviously, there's a lot of personal issues for Timmy in terms of, well, actually, I don't think I can say that. A lot of personal issues with Timmy. Yeah, in terms of like team quality, he didn't really see a future of that like increasing to where it should be to start winning lands. I mean, I stopped playing the game less. Design one trick to character instead of learning how to like we don't fix our problems. We use Wraith as a cover up to why we couldn't ever play Bang, and we were always in a comp crisis for like the last like 9 months. I don't think we ever had a solidified comp besides Bane Cat Blood meta, or the Bane Cat Horizon meta.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's one thing that was really clear about these roster changes that we saw between DSG and Moist here was how much love that all of these players had for each other, right? I mean, Timmy made this move and it was a tough one, and it might even be the right one for Timmy. But, he didn't feel good about it. And you could see how much it hurt him to leave behind Enemy and Design, who he'd clearly formed such a strong bond with. And I know even on the other side there with Moist, Waltzy and Empty have been playing with each other for such a long time that cannot have been an easy decision either. So, we're all going to be here and interested to see how these guys play out in these new teams. But, there's definitely going to be some hearts to mend. I don't want to be like too soppy about it, but genuinely there was just a lot of emotion in these team moves that you don't always see.
Absolutely. And that's what happens when our players obviously become friends along the way of all of these different rosters that they end up playing on. And Enemy designed fantastic players in their own right. You guys saw it there on that graphic when we led into the clip as well. They'll be joined by Zenile. And this is the first time we're actually going to be able to see DSG playing post roster change. So it will be a good chance for us to see what they will now bring to the table as this new trio. But let's switch our focus to another team because there's so many that we do want to talk about here. Vicky, I want to get your thoughts on another squad that you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, on a more positive note, talking about Furia and the way that they've been able to play over the course of the last 2 match days that they have been able to perform in, you know, with his Watson taking a step back from Apex competitive once again, Keong having a history playing with Vaxlon in the past, they've been able to find themselves, I believe it was a 7th and a 2nd place finish on those 2 match days. And honestly, with Madness just recently coming out of surgery, being able to get that done with his ACL and recovering nicely, the grind don't stop. The man's tweeted himself that he is going to be playing and that honestly there is no time to rest. So he will be playing today with the rest of the squad. But you know what? If anything were to happen, I know that Zera is here to step in for this team, but I do like the adjustments that Furia has been able to make with some of these mid-season changes too. Obviously with his Watson taking a step back, they've had to readjust the way that they take these fights considering how aggressive his Watson has been.
Now, obviously, we're going to be showing this tweet here, Madness, saying surgery went well. Surge is very happy with these results. And you can see that he's elevating his legs, still in a lot of pain and feeling pretty out of it. But the real grind begins. Thank you for all the well wishes. We do have confirmation that he is so dedicated. He's going to be playing here today, even though he is fresh out of surgery, which is absolutely wild to me. And I mean, talk about dedication, Genome.
Yeah, I mean, that's something special, honestly. I mean, sure, look, there's no foot pedals involved as far as I know with these guys in terms of their setup. But it still must be like, you know, pain that's got to be affecting, you know, how you're feeling, how you're playing, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, look, honestly, we'll see how they go today, but that big shout out to Madness if he can actually work through that and put up a good performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we actually did also get a chance to chat with Keon a little bit and ask him about the roster changes, how they have adapted, and not only that, but how they're adapting with their roster and those no POI drafts.
Yo, it's Keon. My teammates are Madness and Vaxlon. My coach is JMO, and our sub is Sarah Turkey, and we are Furia. We pretty much just picked up Vax. He was our teammate before we ended up teaming with Watson, and the only thing we really had to change strategy-wise is just becoming more aggressive players. Madness has been passive IGL for like since the game came out, kind of just going to zone and like chilling for placement. And so me and Vax have been picking up the slack of like kind of like just, all right, let's kill this, let's kill this, let's kill this. Just you know, match the play style that Watson brought to the table that benefited us so much. Yeah, I mean, I personally like the draft so far a lot. It like shows what teams are really good at adapting. And it shows what teams aren't. Like we can see like what people can make calls from anywhere. It really shows the ability from a lot of the IGLs. And then also like the Cliffside pick, you know, nobody thought it'd be done, but I think Furia is the only team that can make it work. We've already shown that in scrims. We've been dropping like just nukes from Cliffside, and we are not getting as many points from our World's Edge pick. And for those that know our World's Edge, SkyWest Trials. And we can't make that work, but we can make Cliffside work. So I don't know. It might be a Furia curse.
All right, now we've got a graphic that we want to look at here because we heard Keon saying that they're going to be going with Cliffside. They feel like they can make it work. Here is our average draft position in NA. And Vicky, I want to give this to you to talk about a little bit because you can see Cliffside is all the way down there in 40th.
That means ain't nobody want to land over by Cliffside. That's what this means right here. And it's very difficult. You heard Keon talk about it himself where, you know, Furia have been able to work off of that rotate point already before in the past. Maybe it's just a blessing, the Furia blessing, that they could really work together. Nonetheless, though, they will definitely have a better time with their POI on World Edge. We have to see how Cliffside is going to work out while we take a look to see how these different POIs have played out for a lot of our squads. And you could see, just to highlight though, and for context, no team has picked Cliffside, which is why there aren't any points for any of the squads that have picked that POI. But this is a nice graph to base based off of the amount of points per POI these teams have been able to obtain on Storm Point.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what they can do with this POI and prove that it can be more useful than people maybe think it will be. So we'll be keeping our eyes on them. And if you at home want to be keeping your eyes on anybody else outside of the teams that we just talked about, make sure you check out our FACEIT Watch. It'll make it so easy for you to do exactly that. Okay, that way you can watch up to 4 team POVs simultaneously. You will also have access to that dedicated map POV, which is huge for that top-down view and figuring out where some of those teams are going in the final circle moments, as well as that live team comms with the audio mixer, so you can balance everything exactly the way that you want to hear and see it. It's very cool. All you have to do is head on over to fce.gg/watch ALGS to check it all out and get yourself set up and ready to go for match number 1. And as I say that, I can hear it getting ready. So Vicky, Genome, let's kick off NA.
Thank you so much, Glitter. All right, Genome, after the action that we witnessed in EMEA, we are moving on to North America. And after everything I witnessed in yesterday's games, I honestly don't know what to expect for today. There was a lot of shakeup. We mentioned already some of the changes from some of these rosters. Now let's dive into our map rotation for the day. As usual, everyone, we will be starting off the day on World's Edge for our first 3 games before we transition on to Storm Point.
Yep, so let's jump into that draft and see where these teams are going to be landing for our 5th match day here in NA. Now, as is customary, Sky West will get picked first. You can see Falcons also get an early pick here, and they're going to go for Climatizer. A good pick, but it can be a little risky sometimes because, of course, there is the chance that someone picks Climatizer West and does go for that contest.
I don't think that's something that they have to worry about, at least for right now, but it's a POI that Falcons could absolutely come out of powerful depending on where these circles are pulling. And we know that we've seen a lot of northern zones here on World's Edge. While we take a look at Team Liquid Alienware landing over by Staging, as well as Spacestation Sky East. We see WVE taking Tree. A lot of these POIs, by the way, to note where these teams try to prefer which POI they want to land on between World's Edge and Storm Point also go hand in hand on what types of legend compositions these guys are running, and whether there's going to be a ring console or survey beacon perhaps at these POIs that they're predicting.
Yeah, all definitely important factors to consider. I mean, you were talking about where the zone has been pulling a lot. We saw one of those skyhook zones just before, and I think that's one of the reasons why we see SSG picking up Skyhook East, which was typically a lesser, seen as a lesser POI, but I think with where some of the zones are being pulling in this split of Pro League, Vicky, I think that actually makes it a very viable pick earlier on in the POI draft, just because of the access and the priority that it gives you to those zones.
Really comes in clutch when you're able to cut your travel time short with those rotates here. As we look first at Disguise, I've been so curious to see how this team is going to do with these changes as well, Genome. Wondering, just being able to bounce back. I mean, also benefits you when you have a survey beacon and a ring console that you could try to play off of or deny that information from neighboring teams. You could see over by Dome that is usually split looted by Most Hated, over by Stacks and Dome, and they'll have a survey beacon there too. But we are moving on over to the Northeast. Color me surprised here, Genome. It's another northern zone, but it may not be the Skyhook zone that we've seen so much.
No, it's definitely not going to be a Skyhook zone, as you can see there. It's a bit over the top of Overlook. Yeah, look, honestly, a lot of options here. There is a lot of playable space, a lot of endings that we have seen within this region, Vicky. So honestly, not even confident to call this one, because I think it's, yeah, there's a lot of places where we could end up.
I don't know. I'm getting a little sense of deja vu here with CCE bunkering down with the Rampart. This team with the Rampart and the Loba, you already know what's in the cards for a squad that lands over by Epi and immediately tries to rotate as quickly as possible, settling down on the low ground train tracks. This is the goal that you have to do too, right? When you're running the Loba, you know you're just playing for God spot, and then you're going to just allow the loot to come to you with those black markets.
Yeah, I mean, this is the setup. This is the composition you want if you get a circle, and bam, game one, CCE, home ground advantage here. This composition, honestly, it doesn't really work unless you get into the zone early. So, you know, if we had have seen a thermal station zone, who knows how CCE could have made their way in here. But now that they've got it, they need to maximize points, and they need to do it big time, Vicky, because like this composition, honestly, it's a little bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you could kind of consider it, you gotta call it what it is, a cheese comp, and what is very obscure and what would work. you gotta talk about it, especially when it comes to the way that a lot of these teams have been working around the scan meta. We're seeing way more catalysts now. Fuse is being introduced from so many different regions, maybe kind of dipping their toes into North America, with Enemy being on that Fuse pick from Disguise. We know that he could scan these beacons too. We saw it in EMEA from Alliance when they picked the Pathfinder for a very similar reason, to get that information. Furia, they got Keon still here on the lifeline. So, you know, making some of these adjustments, and Flat also running the Fuse, we got to see how that Rampart works, because we know that Sheila could blare through any catalyst wall when you see a team trying to rotate.
Oh my god, it's so good. I've been using Sheila the last maybe season or two, and I'm just loving the Rampart. But I do want to just stop for 1 second there, Vicky. You mentioned cheese, right? Now this is like a very long storied term in esports, but we don't hear it in Apex very much. And just after this fight finishes, I'm going to explain that to you guys.
No worries. A C9 talking about changing things up a little bit. On the other side, they saw the Fuse running away here. A Stay Naughty just trying to take a different angle, playing much more passively here, it looks like, as they want to try to play this out safe off of this low ground. They know that there's so many other teams that have already rotated through Overlook. They'll get that 1 KP, but there was a ring console in Overlook, so you can expect teams coming out of Geyser or Siphon, those quick rotating teams, to try to prioritize that information.
Okay, all right. Well, it looks like we've calmed down, so I'm just going to go for it, okay? I put up a definition. It says, a strategy or tactic that relies entirely on surprise, niche, or matchup-specific weaknesses. So essentially, it's a weird strategy that, yeah, you just don't see that often. That's a little janky, right? That's what we call cheese. And, yeah, you don't hear about it much in Apex. And the one composition that comes to mind, Vicky, that I think is, like, true cheese that we have seen this split is the Alter Crypto combo.
Oh my
like that is cheese, right? I think Loba Rampart is debatable, but Alter Crypto is 100% cheese.
It actually is getting, but imagine the counter pick with Fuse being put into the building if you try to get like rather crypto alter pushed. Just immediate different play styles that we're seeing from so many of these other squads. And I do think the POI drafting has a heavy part of it, as Crook loses out on his shield. The triple take from above. Auction Esports in a better spot to clean up what was left of Crook. And fighting here, especially in the middle of this circle closing, could always be very risky, because you already know how many squads that like to prioritize these circle positions have already found themselves in Fragment.
Yeah, and you're always at risk that if the circle doesn't pull back towards Fragment, that you've got to make your way uphill, and the high ground, low ground disadvantage that you have to deal with on the top of the icicles is often insurmountable.
It's been great here with 19 squads left, finding these fights. Every angle of the circle thus far is Tempr. Trying to hold this angle here too. Trying to hold that glitch that Stairs could provide, but so many other squads have already gotten ahead, such as Liquid. They passed No Name, calling in the catwall. They heard a team to their right, although maybe used up this catwall a little too early. You could tell what their priorities are, and it's to actually use the Evil Harvesters to influence their pathing on top of the ring consoles, since Hogwarts is on that catalyst.
Yeah, and it's something that you need to be doing. It needs to become an integral part of your macro now in Season 21, now that we do have the Evo Harvesters on the board, and they are the key to really upgrading your armor, especially in the early game. So, ooh, okay, a pull back towards Overlook. So, you know, we were talking about the teams in Fragment. You can see Oxygen now get the chance to move over towards Ghost Town, and they can be happy about just, you know, bunkering down there for a little bit. Whereas the teams in the Overlook buildings themselves, they'll also be okay, and they can try and slip behind past the silos and get back towards, say, where Tempr's sitting, which could be a good spot. Then again, can they hold out Most Hated? Can they hold out Disguised? I've got to say, I've seen a lot of people go up those stairs in the Vault Tunnel coming out of Geyser, and very few actually make it past a team up the top.
Especially when they're holding the edge of the circle there. Good luck unless you have to wrap around, as Furia involved in a fight here too, trying to get around Epi. Let's jump into and listen to what Furia see where they're going to rotate to with them getting shot at.
That was a little sketchy.
Yeah, it's fine because everyone. There's this, by the way.
What is it? Sniper mag? Yeah.
Sniper stuff for you.
I wonder just zipped across from icicles to that.
You know,
These fuse fucking noobs are so. Now
I wonder if we can go up and hit the beacon though.
Good. And we can back up icicles and smoke, or do we want to do it on full close? Do you think we do it on zone full close?
We probably should do it on zone close.
So that way we can actually see like everything and then act.
Look at zone though.
Yeah, I think it ends like.
Careful your backside, Keon. Like the team could just full send us in the back.
Can you maybe smoke me on the craft threat thing?
The comms coming in from Furia, also noticing where they're positioned, and even if the team from afar, which I do believe is Spacestation, who are wrapping around them from survey, are taking shots at them, they're feeling pretty confident in their positioning right now as they rotate through Epi from the low ground.
It's a little bit of a ways to go for Furia, though. Sure, there's a ring console there, there's a survey beacon there that they can use, but you know, they've still got quite a way to get into the circle, unlike Liquid Alien, who are sitting right on top of it and have both of those objectives available to them as well, but in a much more easy to use sort of space situation. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see if they can get some value out of that. I don't know if they've already hit the survey beacon. Obviously, you can only use that once, so choosing the timing of when you want to reveal those locations is critical.
That's a really good point there, too. They could just purposely deny this space from other squads. I made a bold prediction when we were in the listening to Genome that I believe, just based on this positioning alone, that Liquid could absolutely take game number one. They could deny this information from the other squads that want to rotate from the south side of World's Edge that may not try to play on the edge, but more so kind of position themselves to the south side of the circle where Tempr is, where they were holding the Evil Harvester. And now Liquid, they're about to get the ring console once again, get even more information on where that next is pulling, so that way they could plan and make sure that their backs are completely cleared, which is the case as they have been holding this overlook position. And you could see where this circle is going to be pulling, and Native Gaming also calling this out early.
Yeah, they get that info, and it's big because there is a building free very close to them, Vicky. And if they can get in there, if they get it into that fourth circle, that'll be a big deal here for Liquid Alien. We're very rare, honestly, that you even get that information. So this late into the game, that's a huge boon for Liquid. And yeah, I think, you know, calling out the win is a reasonable prediction. Let's see if it happens.
And see if they're on point here today, as Furia still kind of linger around Epi with Spacestation being above them. It looks like they were able to take some shots at Spacestation earlier, noting that they're still on full blue Evos, whereas Furia, they've planned out those Evo Harvesters perfectly, where they could also be able to take advantage of the extra Evo shields that they could work into, as well as the lifeline. So huge here for them, as Spacestation are not only looking at them from behind, but looking at the team right across from them.
Yep, several vantage points to have to worry about. Getting our first look here at Team Falcons. Now remember, they're coming down from Climatizer, so that's why they have had to make their way in from the northeast. And unusually for them, Vicky, at this point in the game, still on blues and quite far away from purples. This is not their comfort zone.
Could be because of the fact that they land over on that north side, now slowly rotating and looking at the other teams that have made their appearance into this circle. Unlike Furious, Madness gets hit huge and they knock him right afterwards. Those longbow shots and the follow-up was beautiful, and that just may be the demise of Furia. Vaxlon goes down next. It is Keon who is the last one alive, as now he gets the res before trying to charge into that next circle.
Yeah, doesn't even stop to grab the banner. No time to waste. Needs to get the med kits off. Needs to get the res. And Stallions similarly in trouble here. That 410 longbow, I'm assuming, was on the other side of that, causing very, very big trouble for these teams as Falcons now try and force their way in against Team Yup.
Oh no, Hal's the first to get knocked though. He peeked, overextended, and then immediately got punished for that. I understand they need loot. They need to take these team fights. I mean, Hal only had like, what, 40 energy ammo? Now the other team tries to slide in. Zero hand in hand with Jen Burden. Take care of Yup. There's the loot that they needed, but at the cost of losing out on Hal.
That said, there's a respawn beacon ahead of them. They've got 40 seconds to try and regroup, get to the north of Overlook, and use that, Vicky.
It's just crazy to see if they could try to pull that off with the amount of teams that we know that are already on that north side of Overlook without knowing where this circle is actually going to be pulling. Nice little overhead here while the action has not stopped. Outside of the circle, we see Disguise versus NRG. Neighboring buildings while enemies got the charge of Sentinel in hand. But they have to prioritize this rotate because round 4 is closing in behind both of these teams.
Design still on the Wraith. We heard Enemy talking about that, and I think that was probably one of the parts of his discussion there that really rang true for me, was that in this day and age, Wraith is honestly, it's a poor man's Bangalore. It doesn't have, you know, the rotational abilities and the flexibility that Bangalore as a legend has. And sure, you can pull out the Sentinel shots like that. That'll get you some of the way, but in some situations, only the smokes and the rolling thunder will save you.
Need some extra pressure there too with the fuse. Following up, popping Beast of the Hunt. Zen now comes in over to the other side, gets the scan, knows exactly where they are on that slight lip of a high ground, but he's playing off the cliffside amazingly. Side by side, though, enemy's the first one to get taken out. It is the pressure from the circle that they wanted to avoid in the first place, and Tempr was just waiting for them after seeing the fight happen over by No Name between NRG, who does manage to get into the circle and play off that low ground.
Okay, NRG. Getting used to seeing them with Fun, Nocturnal, and Reptar on the team. They've managed to cobble together a few points already. But this is a hard spot. Cloud9, Weave, Fury are all focusing in on them.
Easy pickings from this position when you're playing off this low ground. Shieldbat being popped, leaving Reptar with only one more. He's got the shield cells, though, as they creep their way up. Weave still looking at them while Cloud9 try to counter-rotate, swing on the other side. Difficult situation to be in with less than 30 seconds on the clock. Oh, having to be careful, though. Navigate away is knocked, leaving him one. They got some time here. Well, it looks like a Kraber shot is ringing through the kill feed, but it's everybody looking at NRG right now.
Yeah, I mean, this must be an incredibly hard spot as an IGL to play, to call. Do you go under? Do you go on top? It feels like neither option really is calling to you. So they do decide to pop double evacs and try their luck on the balloons.
See what Team Falcons, Jen now getting in trouble. They had managed to get the res onto Hal, but at what cost? With 10 squads left, and I know Genome's looking at that feed because Sheila is helping put the nail in the coffin for Falcons, as Hal, as he came down, was actually able to get on top of the lip of the middle sniper building. He's forced out with the circle closing in. Native now is sniped on, still on blue, gets the knock with the wingman. That's the most damage that he could do to get that purple evil for right now. But they lose out on Rambo on that rotate.
Oh, snipe down back on the Bloodhound. What a classic. He said it was going to take a big offer to get him back in the Pro League, and here he is reunited.
Coming in now, Native get eliminated. Liquid, though, we were talking about them earlier, especially from the position that they had to rotate from Overlook. They get the loot that they needed since they were waiting patiently by that ring console from the very first circle. Yanya gets the meds that he needs. They know that another team here above them are fighting. This could be their actual getaway, though, depending on how they rotate this. Oh, my goodness. Wow. That guy got deleted. I mean, what was he expecting jumping down there?
Oh, well, yeah, that was some express delivery there. They definitely paid extra for that one. Okay, Tempr. Looking up the top now. Liquid Alienware in a very good position, Vicky.
And order that prime here for Tempr now as they hold the high ground. 4 squads left in this circle. We got Liquid as a full 3-man on the other side versus Tempr, another 3-man Cloud. Now we know playing off that low ground, but Tempr in the line of sight of Liquid. Double smoke has been used, but a huge nade onto C9, even finishing off the last member of C9, leaving us with 3 squads left, and Oblivion playing this off the lip, looking at Liquid versus Tempr.
Okay, 3 squads left alive, but it really is those 2 that we have to worry about, isn't it? I mean, there's been some okay performances from Team Liquid so far, but they are off the pace to get to LAN, and they need a big day today to push themselves further back into that contention. Will this be a win to start that off?
Let's see. Tempr had those ults ready to go for this final fight. It doesn't look like Liquid had the catwall themselves, but they were playing around the fence perfectly. They're forcing Tempr to come to them, and now they lose out on 1. Cloaked, the only one with shields that comes in and takes the last member of Liquid out. Playing that so aggressively, preventing them from getting a reset. But I believe, Gino, at the very end with Tempr taking that dub, having those ults online made all the difference between the catwall and the Beast of the Hunt.
Oh, it's so important. I mean, it's something that in this meta in particular, we are seeing just decide team fights again and again, is how long can you hold off using your ultimates? Can you save them for the crucial moment? Can you perhaps win a fight and then find enough ult accelerants to go again? It's one of those things that in this meta, more than ever, is just crucial.
It is, and they also were able to fight their way from the Geyser side of the zone, which I believe had a rather Big Mod, and they had the information over by Big Mod with their rotate through Geyser into the tunnels that you were looking at, Genome. They were kind of neighboring Liquid, except Liquid was already over by Overlook, and they still took that rotation and held off other squads that were trying to fight out of No Name, securing them even more KP, which benefits their dub further.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top in terms of points. So, hey, let's have a look at it now with the match 1 results. Tempr, 22 points. Damn, I knew it was a good game. I didn't think it was that big. That's a crazy good start for Tempr.
That's lovely here. In second place with Liquid coming in with 4 KP. We mentioned the KP differentials and what could be provided there from those rotates. Oblivion, though, coming in third. We saw the solo at the end, but not only getting that placement, they were able to find 9 KP before that team was taken apart.
Yeah, nice effort from Native there as well, chipping in pretty well. And then down the bottom here, not a lot of points spread around. SSG with the donut. Disguise picking up a couple. Elevate 1 after their big day yesterday.
That's actually crazy to see from over here. And then now looking at the team comparison between Tempr and Liquid, our first and second placing team after game 1 alone. Look at the damage difference. I mean, it's not so crazy, especially looking at the rotates that both of these squads had to do, but it's about the KP and the amount of damage that they were able to put in from afar onto the teams that were forced to fight when they were rotating into that circle, Genome.
Yeah, and I think you can even see that just reflected in the amount of space they control in these end circles. Liquid had far more space to themselves, which means, you know, more damage but less kills. Tempr, as by contrast, you know, walk away with a much bigger swag on the scoreboard.
All right, well, game number 1 in the books already onto World's Edge. On the other side of this break, we got game number 2 with some more World's Edge action here for the Apex Legends Global Series.
Alienware is the official PC and monitor partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Apex Legends Global Series. Match number 1 has just finished, and it was Tempr who had a really strong ending there. And I think for a long time, it looked like it was going to go the way of Liquid Alienware, whether that was the fact that they were able to kind of hold that eastern side and overlook the zone shifts a little bit. They still cleared out that northern edge of the circle pretty well, but Tempr ended up just having more at their disposal at the end, whether that was their utility, their kits available, and they were able to make a really solid push up on a Liquid Alienware genome that technically had a shield advantage.
Yeah, they definitely had that advantage, but it was a little harder for them because of the initiative essentially that Tempr had in that fight. I think something else to note there about, you know, the way that zone pulled, it was a little bit crazy, honestly. Going back, as we've seen happen a couple of times today on World's Edge, and you know, Tempr were playing from the vault tunnel. If it had have stayed down there, Tempr probably would have had a better chance at winning, but it would have been a lot safer. As it was, they actually had to work their way north back into Overlook to get into that circle. On the way, securing themselves quite a lot of KP. So the circle kind of forced them to do it the hard way, but as a result, they end up with 22 points.
Yeah, I mean, and not too shabby to start off your day here. We were talking about it a little bit, you know, who will be the standout here today. We saw just how even it was yesterday in NA, and then after EMEA, we saw a couple teams kind of start to separate themselves from the pack. So we're looking to see if anyone will do the same thing here in this region. Obviously, our first match was on World's Edge. If you're just joining us, we're going to continue on World's Edge for 2 more matches. And then when we switch things on over to Storm Point, we'll see if anything changes, as has kind of been the pattern here, based off of where these teams are choosing to make their priority drop position when it comes to that draft system. So Tempr have started off the day with a strong one, and I think they're going to be happy with that, at least considering they definitely hedged their bets going for the more prio choice on Storm Point, and still managed to do something really good with their drop here on World's Edge.
Yeah, it's a big dub, isn't it? I mean, teams generally after having seen the average draft pick for both maps now over this day, you can see that teams are prioritizing World's Edge more than Storm Point. But I think on the tail end of it, it's kind of the opposite. So it's like the bad spots on Storm Point are worse than the bad spots on World's Edge. So you're kind of starting off, if you can get a really good spot on World's Edge, you'll go for that. And then if not, you might just want to make sure that you don't get, you know, cliffside, for instance, on Storm Point.
And I like the point that you made as well, that yes, Tempr won, but they kind of had to go about it the more difficult way. That did result in them getting more of that KP, and we've seen how important those mid-game fights can be when it comes to these overall point totals, with just how close the competition has been in the region. So once again, just a very strong start here for Tempr, as we'll be checking in with them as they land over at Big Mod, get themselves looted up, and then decide where to go once we have some information on this zone.
Sure, we'll get there once the dropship. Well, I was about to say once the dropship makes its way out of here, but it's not the dropship anymore, is it, Glitter? It's the dropships, all 20 of them.
You know, no more waiting. People are just, we're in and we're going. And we're talking about information. Well, they're gonna start getting it here, get that beacon going for Tempr so they can see if anyone has started to migrate.
Yeah, just noticed. So obviously we've got the stacks and the Maud right next to each other, right? I was like, wow, that's a really early survey beacon scan. Usually, would you not want to wait for some other people to start making some rotates and then you get better information? But with Most Hated split dropping across Dome and stacks, that actually gives Tempr the option to look at that and be like, hey, there is a single person over at stacks. Why don't we just go run him down?
There's no way they'll be that risky this early on. I think I would love that personally, because I am an agent of chaos, but I think you can see them moving through that choke right there. They're playing a little bit safe.
One
it's
can
just too
hope.
early for them to be wild. I know. I agree, Gino. I agree.
Come on, Tempr. Give us something to talk about early game. We've got no contests anymore. We need some action.
Well, they might potentially end up running into Yup. You can see Yup going through that vault tunnel as Tempr make their way through. They're gonna also, though, be looking for all those Evo harvesters along the way, so they're gonna migrate through that choke and get those shields leveled up. Liquid Alienware, another squad that we were talking about in that first match, making their way through a landslide. We got a little bit of a peek there at that zone, obviously right outside of Fragment in the no-name area, so everyone's already on their rotations to try and get a little bit closer.
Once again, info getting gained here at Landslide, and it was Vanity, which is Crook, Stunny and Co, who have already yeeted themselves out of there. Of course, it's a very quick POI to loot. The loot path allows you to rotate extremely quickly, and I think it's one of the POIs that was historically seen as a horrible POI. And then, Legends Gaming, they made it work. It's, I think it was Champs last year, and people started reconsidering it, and then boom, in the POI draft has said, no, it's actually not such a bad POI.
Well, you wanted some early game action. It looks like CCE find themselves in a little bit of back and forth as squads are starting to move in to try to claim some of this building space. You've got Native in the area, Oblivion in the area, and CCE took a little bit of damage. They're able to back off, use those rampart walls for a little extra reinforcement, and then also do some shopping.
Yeah, I can't believe they're leaning into the lore so much about, Loba liking shiny things, that every single game they've got the amped cover set up next to the black market, just so we've got some, some shiny things to listen to. All right, we're sitting down here with NRG over at Staging. Let's have a listen in to them with a couple of other teams in the vicinity.
Whose fuse key is that? I don't know.
At least to an end. Let us follow it.
If I had a sight on my nemesis, I would have killed him. Just iron sight on me. Did 112 to the guy. Going for this juice.
Yeah.
You go for it, fun. I'm gonna go for beacon.
Yeah, let me go for it.
To be found in this direction.
Closest team is lance outside.
I need an energy and a heavy mag.
Okay, well, they do head in the other direction, the opposite direction to those teams that were hanging around in landslide and whatnot. So not too much to worry with for NRG. They are not going to get anything even closely resembling a priority pick coming into the next zone. So yeah, they just take their time, get every scan from here to Big Siphon, Lava Siphon, and Big Maud.
I like Big
Should
Siphon.
It's a big POI, you can't lie.
One thing I do like about NRG's choice is, yes, it's going to be a later rotate. And like you said, they won't have the best choice when it comes to some end game positions, but it does allow the bunch of these harvesters along the way to get their shields evoed up. And we're seeing that some of these squads will still be stuck on blue depending on how much damage they're going to be able to deal over, you know, the next few rings. Ooh. So definitely an opportunity for NRG to at least put themselves on a level playing field when they do end up getting into the same area as the rest of these squads.
Yeah, just as you say that, how leveling up, getting his level 3 perk. Most hated. One of the players I actually, you know, kind of got onto because of the Realm tournament and watching some players sort of get discovered and going through that process was kind of interesting. I think that's, you know, allowed him to find a position now in Pro League and potentially make even more of a name for himself.
You can see them in that choke right there, knowing that OXG is right around the side of this mountain in that other choke coming out of Lava Siphon. So both of these teams just kind of trying to wait each other out. As you can see, they're holding that southern side of the circle. Meanwhile, you've got DSG coming in from Big Mod, potentially about to run through Most Hated as well, unless they decide to go through that vault tunnel. So could see a little bit of a scrap here where if Most Hated back off, she can maybe pick them off from the back. So this could be a tough spot unless DSG decide to back off.
Yeah, you see one DSG member going towards the right. Does that mean they will all follow? Yes, they hit the geyser. And you can see that's an easy decision for DSG to make, especially if they take the left entrance there. They don't have to worry about yup, and they can, you know, potentially be sitting in there for quite some time. Meanwhile, NRG, they have to make the decision. Do they want to go up against Oxygen, or do they also take the pacifist route and go around past Harvester to make their way into the circle?
Furia, another one of our teams that's on the late rotate right now. They're on that northern side, about to go through that bridge over by Climatizer after they get that drop. Keon now on red, which will be helpful for Furia.
Do you reckon he even consulted with his teammates about that? That was a very quick grab of the Evo cache.
No, 0-0. It's known that you're getting it if you're a lifeline. It's yours.
Yeah.
You have to stay alive for the tippy taps.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair call. Yeah. Just sometimes it's nice to be asked, that's all.
Next time, we'll make sure that you get asked, Genome, so that everyone is included. And here's your answer for what's going to be happening with NRG. They're trying to go for that more passive, that wide and slow rotate. Like you were saying, they do end up running into Elevate, though, right outside that tunnel. So they're going to back off and reassess. But it looks like Elevate want to see if they can maybe chase it down or at least scare them off and kind of own this western side. They also do have that crafter if they need it for any sort of meds or anything. But just a little bit of posturing there on behalf of Elevate.
Yeah, I mean, if NRG really wanted to, they can just turn around and hold them out and play within the zone, which becomes a bit obnoxious for Elevate at that point. So I think it's a good decision for them to go north, potentially pick up an extra Evo Harvester, and, you know, maybe even another Ring console, assuming Luxford has gone for the Ringmaster perk, which I think is, you know, roughly at a 100% pick rate for that level 2 fuse upgrade.
We're starting to see a lot of our teams that have moved in towards that no-name area nice and early, watching everybody else slowly collapsing in. Flat own one of those buildings. You've got Stallions across the way, Vanity in there as well, and everyone just waiting to see what's going to happen as this zone continues to close in. Furia continued on their rotate through and have now run into Team Falcons, who also have that height advantage down on Furia, so this could be a tough spot.
Okay, so Falcons coming in. You know, this is a similar but not the same zone as last time. It does end up going a little more westerly of Overlook. So Falcons, as a result, don't have quite as many teams to contend with. You can see Fury is there, but I believe that's them in the tunnel underneath. Obviously, you know, it's a little hard to tell sometimes with the topography of the map. They're not actually on top of each other. Well, they are literally on top of each other, but not, you know, fighting on top of each other. So this will just make it a little bit easier. They'll be able to command a lot of that high ground and then just slowly walk into the circle. And if they can do that later on, that puts them in a really good spot.
Not a single team just won with where that zone was shifting. Literally no one. I mean, Cloud9 and CC.
Cloud9.
This is going to be another chaotic collapse with so many teams that tried to set up for a little bit of space and fragment. They're going to have to cannibalize each other in order to move, unless they opt to go a little bit early, maybe use some of that space on the northern side, as well as Team Falcons still looking at Furia. And on the southern edge, DSG was in this vault tunnel for so long. Now they're going up against Most Hated, and Yup are still waiting in the wings.
No. Yup. More so holding the outside. It looks like the anchor is sitting out there while the other two were thinking about heading downwards, but I don't think they'll be a part of this fight. I think they're thinking about the next circle more so. Whereas you can see Most Hated trying to force their way into this part of the tunnel here. It's Catwall, now it's Smokes to try and move their way forward. Do we think they can actually get past Disguised?
I just no way. I feel like Most Hated debated actually trying to get past DSG, and then when Most Hated realized that DSG was playing a little bit scared and backing off, then they considered for a second trying to push DSG, and that indecision was potentially what kind of saved them from getting chased down there. They will be able to get out. They'll have to go through some of that zone though. Meanwhile, you've got Elevate, who is team 2, going out in the kill feed. OXG, who have been waiting in that choke for so long near NRG, moving in, and they're down to a duo with NRG right in front of them.
Yep. Still Vayne and Aiden are up here. Ooh, looks like they might have a respawn beacon coming in. NRG though, I don't know if they'll let them get that off because they are lurking in the vicinity. Liquid Alienware a little further up.
I think NRG called one in as well. NRG and OXG both put Mobies down. So they both needed to go for the res, which might have given both of them the time to go for the res. We'll have to see what happens with that fight over there. Meanwhile, this is everyone in No Name starting to finally push in.
Yeah, this is Weave trying to bust their way in against Vanity. Flatter just leaving, but as these perimeter fences go down, they've got the gold knock to hide behind. That's going to buy some time.
Nice shots out of Weave there, clearing out their that building, owning that space. DSG also down in the kill feed after Vanity fall, but Flat now going to push in and see if they can maybe third party after Weave have taken some damage here. And Flat were able to kind of watch it all go down in the wings. They're on lower shields and trying to see if they can maybe push in. Smoke blocking their vision just a little bit, but this was a perfect opportunity for Flat.
Oh, okay. This is back up the top here. Yup, actually have made the move all the way out and taken down Team Falcons. Shame we didn't get to see that one. It would have been fascinating. But with Furia looking on from below, I don't know if Yup have got that much time to make their way into the zone, because it has shifted very far to the north here, and it's actually SSG now that are in the prime position.
Flat still alive, managed to clear out Stallions. Yup and NRG down in the kill feed. Flat now down to 1. Qzir goes down not shortly after. And after all of that, Weave have somehow survived. They don't live for much longer, though. You can see Native waiting for all of that chaos. They're right on the edge, able to clean up Weave as well. But now Native right next to CCE. And there's still a lot of teams on this southern side.
Still quite a few, yeah, but Furia and SSG somehow are coexisting and sticking over here together. It feels like them, actually, maybe even Liquid Alienware on the right side as well, that are going to eliminate pretty much the other 5 squads as they try and move north. Would be surprised if a single one got anywhere. You could see Furia just pushing up here. If they don't get scanned anytime by SSG, this could take them by surprise, but I think SSG have caught on just in time.
Yeah, and this will be a little bit of back and forth here, but SSG obviously with that height advantage can just kind of shoot down on Furia, which might force Furia to play this a little bit safer than they were just debating doing. Meanwhile, you've got Pioneers pushing down into CCE for some back and forth here. You've got Liquid Alienware off in the distance, seeing if they can maybe get involved, and Pioneers look pretty looted, able to find a little bit of cover right now on these tracks and figure out what their next move is.
CCE down to 2. They actually have to move out of the position in the train car where you can see they'd set up the amped cover. They'd set up the black market as well. So now Pioneers get to use that, well, for a brief second at least, before the zone closes and pushes all of them out. And as I said, I don't think any of these teams are getting out of here alive. I think Liquid, SSG, and Furia will combine to take them out.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough push for all of those teams on the southern side. Pioneers able to find some more damage and at least get a knock there. D is going to see if they can maybe clean it up. Liquid Alienware do go out against Pioneers, so they'll get that KP, but it's just Deeds left alive trying to sneak in.
Okay, Deeds. Well, looks like C9 are pretty easily focusing those teams down. Wow, Liquid actually go down, so we might replace them with Cloud9, but SSG on God spot. We want to hear what they've got to say as they get the best spot in this game.
We're literally fucking chilling.
Yep.
You make sure to take this designer. Or Koi, take this.
Okay.
Do not tunnel so hard on it though. Watch the climb up.
When do you get to play in me, bro? They can't climb up. When do you come to me right now?
Okay. I'm playing you.
Because you can see them, Phony, from right behind. Smoke you.
They're smoking you.
They can't climb up. They're getting fucked. They're getting fucked. I'm gonna fuse. Fuse the scene.
Bring her thermite.
Yep. Taking. Yep. There's a solo here, Phony. No,
he died.
Yep, cracked one. When's the give it ready? Do you have an ulti cell? Anyone have ulti cell?
Nope, no, I do not.
They cracked over here.
We need to get all these kills. Okay?
Do you have ulti cell, Koi?
No, I don't. They can climb up right here. Listen, Koi, they can climb up between us. Right here.
Just need to worry about
climb up.
30 on them.
I'm placing double presence on the right so they don't catwall up on us.
Yep.
They're gonna look for the fucking team underneath. They're gonna play to this. And look for the team on the left.
Careful my climb up. They're walking out. They're in smoke. They see me. Not close to it. My climb up. Not close to it.
You're good.
My climb up on me, guys. They're close. So much damage. A lot of damage. Under. I need some energy. They're all weak, lobby. Yeah, charge the Koi. Don't tunnel. Far team. They died.
Almost cracked one.
One dead. They're dying.
They bang ulted me. I'm not gonna
He's not far. He's ulting far.
I hit one. I hit two. I hit all three on right.
Nice. So much energy. Killed one. Yep. Cracked one. Down another two. Two dead down now. Blood one. Blood's one.
They're rising.
They're rising. One side.
He slid back down.
No, they're gonna fight.
Nice. One dead on the right. Yep. Come middle.
No, sliding down.
Yeah.
They're gonna get that kill. Get that kill. One HP, one. Last guy, guys. Good shot. GG's.
Good shit, boys. Nice. Holy fuck, we got so many kills. I got 0 kills. I got 0 kills. Yeah.
Played absolutely perfectly by SSG as they close out match number 2 with that prio position on height. And we got to hear it in their comms there. They knew from the last 45 seconds that this game was in the bag for them. They just had to make the right calls.
That was way too easy. I mean, usually when you hear a team win a game, right, like they're popping off, they're so excited, but it was just, yeah, it's just business as usual there for SSG. I really like the way they played that final circle. You know, they weren't hard committing on a team. They just maintained their position up on God's spot, and they sort of flicked their focus back and forwards between the two teams, just like knocking one, knocking another, making it so that neither team was ever really going to be a threat to them.
I feel like there was just good vibes on the squad there for SSG. We've got even Vicky pointing out at the end there, Koi going, let's go, I got no kills. You know? It's a team effort, okay?
It's a team game.
Still a win in the books for SSG, something that they absolutely needed. And as always, we'll be getting you all of those match results, but we're gonna do that on the other side of this break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Herman Miller is the official chair partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. 2 games in the books, 1 more down to go here for World's Edge. And I mean, the circle diversity has been absolutely insane, Gino.
Yeah, not this time. It was for EMEA, but yeah, look, World's Edge here in NA hasn't been the you know, the nice rainbow that we would love to see.
Yeah, it hasn't. Not much diversity at all, honestly, here. But what we have been able to see, at least, is the way that these teams have been able to diversify their approach into these circles. Spacestation coming all the way over from Skyhook East, making that rotate from that north side. As we take a look at some of the highlights from game number 2, I like the calls that we listened to at the very end with Spacestation, talking about how much kills they knew they were going to win, but it's about the amount of KP that they could scoop up to prevent these other teams from getting those points.
Exactly. They were focused on that, focused on their win conditions, and yeah, they absolutely made the best of that. You can see them just laying down the damage there without even remotely giving themselves a chance to lose that endgame.
Yeah, you stay on height, and you even saw right there, they were lacking in some ammo too. So just holding onto height and keeping up the pressure, you got to make do with what you got in a moment like this. And if you got God spot, positioning is everything in a game like this. So they were able to take advantage of that, take game number 2. I know all eyes are on Spacestation 2 to see how they're going to be able to do going forward here. And taking that second game is a big way to try to kickstart your approach.
Yeah, it's an awesome one to have in the bag going forward. Oh, we'll see. We'll see if Spacestation can come out on top. Just thinking about their previous performances, they have had a day win. That was in A versus C, and they got that over Falcons. You know, they are second in the overall standings as we go into today. But if they want to get any further up, it's gonna require some more of those firsts, I would imagine.
Especially since game number 1, I believe they fell in 17th place. So a lackluster first game approach, but at least for that second game, coming right back, getting that dub on top of it. But I do see how a lot of these teams, though, predicting where the circle was going to be pulling, either they're denied the ring beacon information and the way that they have to approach this. That sets up teams to be in a worse rotating position based off of these circle pulls and what you got to fight from, too, because you could see already, well, it was like 10 teams fighting for the hill. It was like 5, but it was a lot going on up on that hill, and it was just the fight to try to navigate around outside of the overlooked circle where a lot of teams didn't know that it was going to pull outside originally.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lobby chat right now, Vicky. I can tell you that they're molding in there, man. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I knew where it was going until the fourth circle where it just went kind of crazy, went a bit loopy, went a bit loco. They've got no idea basically what is happening with these fourth, fifth, 6 circles, because it's like a ping pong ball in there. It's gone all over the shop. And I mean, look, historically, that kind of has been World's Edge's role a little bit. Stormpoint has always had the relatively easy to call circles, and then World's Edge always throwing you for a loop.
Always got to make sure you're kept on your toes here while we take a look at the points per POI on World's Edge. I'm curious just looking at this chart because we get to see the teams that have been able to get those points on their preferred POI based off of the new POI draft that we've now been able to get. Even looking at how Climatizer East skyrocketing right there alongside Sky West.
Yeah, well, that's we talked about that previously. Like, Sky East has been close to a lot of those big circles. How on earth is Dome up there? That's my question. Like, that's wow. I'd love to see the sample size because that's the one piece of information we don't get out of this graph for Dome, because obviously, like, not a lot of people have actually picked Dome, but clearly whoever did was making it work.
Yeah, probably like 1 or 2 teams, I feel like, at the very least, as we take a look at the series results. Highlighting that, though, Tempr still on top with 13 total KP over the course of these past 2 games, finishing things off with 27 points so far. At least we still have that 1 game left on World's Edge, but it's seeing which of these teams find more of that success on World's Edge versus Stormpoint before we make that transition.
That's like the top 10 have actually picked up a lot of points already. Like, having that many teams on 21, 17 points after 2 games, that's actually setting quite a blistering pace to keep up and to get towards the end of that scoreboard.
Especially starting that out early, trying to make sure that you build up that gap in a map that you feel like you're the strongest on. As again, we are going on to World's Edge for a 3rd game before we make the transition onto Stormpoint, where some teams were able to benefit off of their preferred seeding on these POI drafts and choosing maybe a POI on Stormpoint that they don't feel like they're very strong on the map itself. So why not be able to take advantage of the POIs you do feel comfortable with? We got to see how that all plays out for our squads as we dive into game number 3 here on World's Edge.
Let's go. It is not going to be another overlook zone, Vicky. That is my headline here for game number 3.
I believe in you, Genome. I think it's going to just mirror it. Go on the opposite side. Oh my god, wait. No way. All right, we gotta wait to see where a lot of these squads know where the circle's pulling, so that way the audience can also see, because that is actually what's gonna happen here. Spacestation, though, could thrive off of this once they get that information. They know that Furia like to split loot Sky West, since they always send that one over to Trials, since this is the team rocking the Lifeline, and they made those adjustments to work into what the Lifeline could provide with the gold knockdown. Then you want to try to prioritize those evil harvesters, so the way Lifeline could not not only guarantee those gold knockdowns for her teammates, but also an Evo Shield cash too that she could have for herself. And we are going over to the west side of this map, except it is pulling towards Skyhook, a circle that we've seen so many times within Pro League so far.
Yep, Skyhook with a small chance of heading towards the Raven underneath Trials, we would say here. I haven't seen a single circle, near the RV that is to the east of Countdown. Used to be, a relatively common pull, but haven't seen that in a while. So as a result, Skyhook, get in there, find a building, find your real estate agent, sign a lease, and just get comfy.
Listen, in this economy, that's going to be crazy to see with the amount of teams that could coexist in these buildings. I mean, everyone is going to be sharing that space. Looks like CCE, though. Oh, my goodness. That evac tower just got deleted. You already know probably what went down with CCE taking out that Sheila. We've seen it already before in the past. I've seen it when I played with Dia and he takes out the Rampart and the Sheila to put in some pressure, but they deleted that evac tower, stopping Oblivion from trying to get their dream rotate. Now they're forced to walk it in probably through the vault tunnel side of Skyhook.
Yeah, that's the kind of the chaos we like, right? Because, I mean, unless you've got another couple of teams like firing at it, it always feels just like a bit of a waste of ammo to be hitting those evac balloons. But not with Sheila. That's just a clip away.
I respect Sheila so hard. I don't even try to contest or show my face. Not even a single toe out of line, as we see way more of these teams now. It's not an evac tower, just a regular jump tower now. Flying in, though, in the line of sight of flat. Free shots here as they get the crack from afar.
Man, Nano has been frying this season. This guy has been putting up some serious numbers, and you can see why there. I mean, he doesn't even need a sniper stock to just be landing shot after shot with the 30-30 there.
And I like how they actually called it too there. You're not going to linger around after making some noise. They took their shots that they were able to get, and then now they're immediately going to start rotating over here from the south side, where there's another team in the distance by that ring console. It's Native Gaming on top of the tracks. We can't ignore NRG that like to take their time from Thermal. They had the survey beacon, so they know where everybody's already been.
Yep, plenty of info for NRG down there, and honestly, plenty of other beacons, plenty of other Evo harvesters on the way. They'll be juiced by the time they do make it into the hook, as the young kids like to call it. But they don't.
No,
I'm just trying to make that happen,
I was gonna say, I'm like, I haven't, but I'm also, I guess, how do you do, kids? Like, I can't. Way beyond my time out here. I was gonna say, I believed you from the rip. And now we get to see teams now take up all this space in Skyhook. This is exactly what we were mentioning before. We've highlighted this plenty of times that we've seen these circles over by Skyhook, where way more of these teams are able to coexist in a Skyhook zone. So you are going to expect these final circles to be jam-packed. Now, depends on if this circle ends up pulling very similarly to what we saw in EMEA, completely giving you whiplash towards the west side, where we're going to say bye to all these teams once they're funneled into the line of sight of the squads that may be rotating from Countdown.
Yeah, is NRG that team like Ninjas in Pajamas was, that just gets to benefit from a crazy pull, come in late, and just lap up all of those KP? Or do we get, a quote-unquote true Skyhook zone that pulls in towards the buildings more so, and, we see a team who's been in there for a while benefit from that? And, what's good in Skyhook? Watson teams being able to not have to rely on shield cells as much, having that pylon is giving you free heals every time. And what's tough to play against in Skyhook? Fuse, because you're all stuck in buildings and the knuckle clusters will find you and they will chip away at you. But obviously the Watson counters the Fuse, and that's a big dynamic in this season that we need to consider when these teams are taking up position and sitting in those buildings for 3 or 4 circles at a time.
That's such a great bring up too, because we have like 6 Watsons in this lobby, while the rest are just Catalyst or insert one Caustic here from KCP. So that's big considering the fact that even though the Catalyst could bunker down heavily, these fuses are going to be able to tear down those bunker down walls just as quickly here. So now looking at the other side and how Watson could provide way more of a better defensive position in a circle like this versus the other side with the Catalyst depends on the approach that some of these teams want to take in their positioning, like Native, where Rambo doesn't really have a building to secure, but they have information on where the circle is going to be pulling, while also noting the squads to have to rotate from behind them.
Yeah, I mean, Catalysts have been getting better and better over time. I think teams' abilities to use the Dark Veil successfully is actually a skill that's even taken the pros quite a while to refine. And I think even though it's still a much better pick on Storm Point than it is here on World's Edge, where for circles like this, we really do like Watson. Catalyst is, I'd say it's a lesser pick, but we are seeing teams be able to rotate a little bit more effectively when you do have the Catalyst. It's a little bit more flexible, I suppose.
Definitely helps out too if you want to try to commit to a fight and you know that there's another team looking at you, but they're obviously not going to give up their position. So you have that wall up there so that way you could safely either take a fight or get to the building that you need to get to. If you even find space in a circle like this, I mean, I know we talk about it, but everyone is just piled up on top of one another like a bunch of sardines stuck in a can here, while KCP over by Trials are looking at all the action without being so heavily involved themselves, playing on the edge of the circle. NRG, they've called it an evac here. They're going to try to mirror that with DSG taking the regular jump tower to their south. Now they're going to be able to try to see if they can find a spot here on top of Trials. They've already seen that one team that's already there, but is there even any space for them to play off of other than the low ground here for Trials? Oh, yeah, KCP firing shots out as they take up space below them here, and there's like a single bead of sweat rolling down my forehead here, Vicky, because with that circle shift, it's gone west, and I'm pretty sure that's where the other circle earlier today shifted before going down drastically in zone 4 towards that bottom side of Skyhook. It's crazy, Euros. We take a look at the skies now. Gonna be able to get that knock and finish onto Nano. Let's jump into a listening with the skies with the circle closing.
Where'd he go? He dropped down. All right, fine, fuck him.
Yeah. Hey, energy back.
We can play for this building. I'm down.
I'm gonna grab Dark.
Okay, 3 seconds on scan. He's gonna be down here somewhere. Energy back here.
Are we going?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a port in a second, but we gotta be careful of southeast teams. Okay, not placing port. We gotta be careful of teams walking up from our southeast.
Oh, we're gonna give you nothing. I'm gonna grab both and thirst.
I don't have ult excel for dog.
I do not have anything. I'm charging.
I do not either.
You can hear with the way that they're trying to figure out what to do next and just bunkering down here, because they could deny the Evil Harvester on some teams' rotates if they've already taken their time to play by the edge, but they're looking nice in terms of the information that they've gathered. They have the ring console. They're making sure no other team is going to come up from the landside side, instead forcing them to maybe take the pathway through the vault tunnel into Skyhook. But we know, Genome, that everybody basically is already up here in Skyhook. Yeah, pretty much everyone. You can even see the black market ticks coming out there as CCE place a new black market and continue to just yank loot right out from under the other team's noses here. 20 seconds, Vicky, we're gonna get that big reveal on where this circle goes. This guy's playing from countdown. What if it shifts towards them? What if it goes towards that Raven again and they are in the best spot as NRG look to try and clear out their building here as they remove Vaxlon, but not the entirety of Furia just yet. Look, that'd be crazy with how hard Energy has been able to rotate away, but I cannot believe this. It is shifting all the way west. Are you kidding me? This circle, Gino, we highlighted, we painted the picture for the teams that predict a Skyhook zone. Now this circle is moving away from Skyhook into more so the hybrid between Trials and Skyhook West. Look at this. Liquid Alienware, they have some time to breathe, but a team that held this position that won the game in EMEA was Ninjas in Pajamas, and that is the same position that KCP is currently in right now. The only thing is, though, they're not fully in that next circle, and a team that's definitely going to be looking at them on that south side of the zone is Disguised.
Were they up this morning? Were they watching the EU Pro League, Vicky? Because if they were, maybe they're ready for this. Maybe they were waiting for this circle to happen again. Maybe that was Native. Maybe that was Liquid. They're the ones in those southernmost buildings. But KCP, ironically, playing the position of their previous KCP members where Nasky won this game from in Skyhook. So that high ground essentially is where, Nasky was, and the now Ninjas in Pajamas roster did so well from, and I think mopped up like 11 kills or something from earlier today. Can the Pioneers replicate that success here in North America?
Gotta wait and see here with the position from Falcons. Playing on the edge of the circle, but still with full blue Evo shields, Gino.
We've seen Falcons on blues for longer today than they've been on like the rest of the Pro League combined.
It's true, actually. They were usually very quick with it, but that does highlight how much they're prioritizing that final zone positioning and even trying to path into that circle first before pathing around Evo Harvesters. So considering the fact that they come in from the northeastern side of this circle, rather of this map, into wrapping around through the train tracks immediately into Skyhook. They wasted no time to get here. Something similar that KCP had to do in that time when they had to rotate away from Countdown.
Yeah, definitely some different macro to consider for those teams. Stallions. I think we're having a look at this building, Vicky, because with them and NRG currently occupying it, they will have one of the best spots in the final zone. You can see that right now. Stallions are the green team. There's a purple team, NRG, right on top of them. And as you can see, that's well within zone 6. Pioneers, unlike our earlier circle, will have to move off the top of the mountain a little bit earlier. I don't know if maybe like that second, the little platform where the 2 bins are, maybe they can play for there a little bit. They obviously want to hold on to that high ground for as long as they can.
That's going to be so hard, though, too, especially with this guys being right next to them on that rotate, and they have the fuse. Teams making the rotate, though. We talked about the catwalk coming in. Just allows C9 to share some of the space over here by Market. It is against Team Falcons that are now trying to get into position. Jen, he's got the gold extended energy bag. No turbo. White stock here, though, and they're still getting pinged by a team from above. So many other squads just trying to take these different angles, while Falcons have now called in their own catwall a little later after C9.
You can see multiple members of Team Falcon just a second away from getting purple armor here. They'd rather be poking first and giving themselves that extra chance, but before or just as they get those upgrades, they're getting taken down. There's too many other teams around.
No way! Even the charge rifle in the distance from KCP, Albert Lady following up. They take out how? They take out Team Falcons. It was a mess with all those squads trying to duke it out between the double catwall. Now Tempr, they lose out on the bang. Pop the Beast of the Hunt, Elevate, go bye-bye. 16 squads left. And now as they drop down, this is the chaos that we were expecting here in Skyhook, as all the nades are thrown in their direction.
Zone 5, still 15 squads remaining. That's a Skyhook zone if I've ever seen one. But now they start to drop. Tempr goes down. So many other teams will start to have to make their next move. And it's going to be a hard one. Oxygen here. Come back on around the building that currently Native and Weaver in. Can they get on top of it? Is that a good spot to play? Well, only for the next 40 seconds, Vicky.
Gotta make do with what they got here. You see the scans as well. Native Gaming just trying to reset with the limited meds that they have to work with because they've been holding down this building for quite some time. But it's like you mentioned, you know, they have the Watson Gen right there, so that way they don't have to burn too many of those shields. Circle closing in soon here as Oxygen are playing by the edge. CCE get eliminated, 12 squads left. And this circle benefiting the likes of NRG, Liquid, Spacestation, Stallions, C9.
All those teams up the north in a much more comfortable position than those down here. Native Gaming have to be worried about Oxygen on top of them, about all these bang olds going down as people try and cover their backs as they make a move. This building will have an occupant on probably every single floor as the teams try to find safety in Zone 6.
Well, now we know what Disguise is trying to do here. They called in the catwall, but can they make that decision to see where they want to rotate through here? Noting that there is still that team on the high ground, but not for long. They actually took an evac tower. KCP is gone. They are flying on top of all the teams now fighting. With 12 squads left here, you see Zul being able to get that knock next. Pioneers, they flew right into the open arms of their death, and Disguise are trying to capitalize. They take control and third party that fight. They lose out on design for right now, but they are going to be able to try to get this res now that they know that nobody is in the area to try to contest them.
Oh, but if they can stabilize there on that wall, they're in a great spot. I mean, as long as no one snipes that pylon that they are sitting next to, they're gonna be so just laughing all the way to the bank there. I mean, Disguised, they're not running the Watson, but if you can find a playable spot where someone else, another team has laid one of those pylons down, it's not like the you know, caustic traps or whatever. They don't go away when your team dies, and they can sit there and benefit from that.
Take advantage of what's given to them here too. Just drop by another team before they get sent to the lobby. But you see the evac tower. Liquid are not going to give up that space here. They're eyeing that evac just in case this team tries to get on top. They still have one blue Evo, though, something that I'm not too sure Oxygen knows about, trying to put in some pressure, but Oxygen are in a very tough spot. They are in the line of sight of Liquid on top of them. There's still that team inside the building neighboring their fence that have been looking at them, as well as the opposite building, north side, where C9 and Stallions have been holding.
Yeah, well, there goes the option. They were maybe hoping they could get on top there, but too much attention paid from the team on the top, Team Liquid.
Okay, all right. Disguise went for an attempt at a play here. Did not work out with that Wraith portal, as C9 are making sure that they're looking out if they try to go for it again. They got the knock from the Liquid side, looking at Stallions. They're going to be able to try to get this res. An evac tower called in maybe at the best time. They hear the res perhaps going off. This final circle closing in right behind everybody's backs, and Stallions are soon to be dropping down from here.
Stallions in one of the best spots because their building will be in for a lot longer than the other one, as this overhead shot clearly shows. Fuse ults coming in everywhere. The mother load, everyone needs to avoid that as nades and ultimates begin to be burnt.
Oh, Stallions are eating right now. Look at all the KP that Aurelian's been able to get just himself. Energy get eliminated. But can we talk about how big that motherload was? A gigantic UAV as Oxygen keep holding forward. Space Station get eliminated. Our final 4 squads. Stallions now trying to stay alive right between the catalyst walls. Disguised right in the middle between Oxygen. They're about to get taken out before finally our last 2 squads, Stallions, Cloud9, and Oxygen left in this final circle.
Oh, but Oxygen have waited a little bit longer to pounce here, and that means that they are all up. They are healthy, and they are your champions for Game 3.
Beautiful way on inching their way into that final circle. Oxygen come out on top, and you know with a circle like that, Genome, they're able to pick up pretty hefty KP at the same time.
Yeah, that was a big win there from Oxygen. I mean, that was such a hard final circle there to navigate. And you can see, look, Stallions, while they're on top of the building, fantastic spot. As soon as everyone got down there, like, honestly, you know, I don't know, roll a dice to see who wins that. It was so hard. Catwalls going everywhere. You've got so many other teams just like throwing out utility, essentially using everything left in their arsenal, that it does feel like to some extent it's, you know, dependent on the other teams as to where you finish up, because you just got so much ability usage dictating where you can play.
I'd be screaming my head off. Can you imagine, like, in a final zone like that, there's still like 12 teams. You're getting mother loaded, knuckle clustered. You're looking at a random Wraith use a portal, trying to get into a different position. You see 2 evac towers. You see bang smokes everywhere, double cat wall. It's like so much happening at the same time to keep track of, while also making sure that you're in a better spot depending on that circle and their positioning here. As we take a look at the match 3 results, Oxygen Esports, we saw them take that dub, 11 KP, while Stallions right behind them with 14 kills that we saw while they were holding onto that roof for a while.
And that was, you know, a catalyst for Oxygen there at the top. I think it was a Watson for Stallions, if I'm not wrong, sitting in second place, and they both walk away with 23 points. You know, really just so much there for those two teams. They are massive results. I think you rarely see actually that many points just in two teams in general in a single game.
Yeah, and then looking at the second page, I mean, Falcons had a really good rotate if the circle pulled north. That was the problem, though, because it continuously pulled more so towards the south side of Skyhook, where you're going to be stuck out in the open. It was unfortunate that they met the demise with the two teams that were trying to take some pokes at them by the outside of Market. They committed to that fight. Well, there were so many other teams in that area, but the same thing could be said about KCP, unfortunately having to fly in the Hail Mary evac tower to find a spot just to immediately die. But that even highlights how many teams we had in that final circle.
I mean, you're telling me that KCP got 2 points out of that circle. That is crazy. High ground, looking at everything. I mean, yeah, as you said, a wild evac to try and finish that off, but 2 points for them is, they're going to be down in the dumps feeling that one.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little bit of deja vu there for a portion of that, watching the zone continue to kind of pull to that western side, but it definitely did not play out the same way. Either way, a massive win for OXG in match number 3 and closing out our World's Edge matches. And before we continue on to Storm Point, it's time to kind of re-look at everything we just saw in matches 1 through 3, and to help us do exactly that, as well as chat with us a little bit, we've got Waltzy ready to go from Not Moist. Waltzy, hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're great. Okay, we've been watching some really solid gameplay so far, and we've got a couple questions before we get into those final circles. For me, we obviously have talked about it a couple times over the last few days, but you guys had that recent roster change, and yesterday you came out of the gate hot. Okay, you had that win, lots of kills, and we even got to do a listen in with you guys and hear how those comms were kind of flowing and how you were all working together. So tell us a little bit about what it's like adapting mid-season to a new roster.
I mean, it's definitely difficult, but it is something that I sort of have like a good outlook on. Especially when you bring on someone like Timmy. It's not like, you know, I'm having to adjust to someone who can't keep up or someone who's like not on the same level. Timmy is just phenomenal. So I think he's made the process like a lot easier, but IGLing is something that I sort of wanted to do. Obviously didn't want to do it this soon or at this point, but I think I have like a very good mindset for it, and the change has sort of like, in a way, given me like a new drive or like a new passion for the game. So I think it's actually been like a pretty smooth process.
I love that.
I feel like that's kind of been the theme with a lot of teams that we've spoken to, where they are put in a very uncomfortable, unknown situation, and they've been able to now readjust, because that's kind of what these POI drafts have provided to IGLs now, is being able to adapt now weekly. And it's been quick, too, to see how you guys have been able to do that. It's very impressive. But I want to touch up on what you were talking about with Timmy. I love being able to see Timmy's competitive growth, from seeing him in the Challenger circuit, seeing him on that stage with the rest of Disguise, and seeing what he's got to bring. I feel like he's evolved amazingly as a competitive Apex player. I mean, you've already talked about how it's been playing with him. Can you talk about now, what was your thought when you decided to pick up Timmy? How did that conversation really go when you approached Timmy and saw how he was able to slot in with you?
Basically, there was like a few options where it was like controller players, and then it was pretty much a couple MK players, but mainly Timmy was like the only one that I sort of wanted. The choice was find another RGL or RGL myself. And when I looked at Timmy, I saw an incredible mechanical player, someone with a good drive for the game, someone who plays the game a lot. And also I know he did do a lot of the calling or like assisting with calling with DSG. So it sort of was like a no-brainer for me to pick up someone who could also like assist me in that like department, because it's like if I just pick up a roller who's just going to listen, I won't have a second voice. So I feel like that sort of made the decision pretty easy for me, given that he is just an incredible player, and just that he can be like a second opinion is just like sort of like where I made my decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think that totally makes sense from my POV. Look, we are going to run through some final circles here with you, Waltzy. You know, as you said, kind of new to IGLing. So hey, let's do a little run through, give you some extra practice, you know, before you keep going here. So we'll look at match 1 first. This is that one where we had Team Liquid here going up against, oh look, I've forgotten who was on the other side, but yeah, tell us this one. It was a cat wall, and then that was right, Tempr run around the side of it. What did you think of this end game?
I think from what I'm seeing, this is a straight 3 that 3 controller players on Team Liquid should have no problem winning. But I think that they've not taken any space. They've sort of let Tempr set the tempo of the fight. When they've run the cat wall, I think playing small on the bottom side of the map is just not how you want to play that. You want to actually like spread sort of like towards the left side and look to like wrap. Whereas like Tempr's sort of just sucked away all the space and just left Liquid with nowhere to play.
Yeah, it was a very small portion of the map, which is in direct contrast to this one, where SSG have all the space in the world, and their comms were even just, you know, going for kills. Yeah, was there anything the other two teams could have done?
No, you have SSG, who's like an incredible talent, like 1 through 3. These guys will all hit very, very hard, and when they have a position like this and they're playing Fuse, the game is incredibly easy. You'll see these guys probably didn't have sort of any moment where they were even like surprised that they won the game, like, or that they were stressed about winning the game. This was very easy for them, so just sort of a free one for them.
Yeah, the cons were so chill at the end of this. Now, this one I am so interested to hear your thoughts about, because this was an incredibly hard circle to play for literally everybody involved. So how did you read it?
Yeah, I caught sort of like the back end of this one. Really not sure how OXG has pulled out of this, given, like, as you can see here with all the util going down. I think that they just looked to be very proactive on that left side where there was like a lot of fights going on, and looking to avoid everything happening on the building side was probably the way that you would want to play it. Given that the building team have you play their side, they kind of just get to shoot down on you for free and then jump down on you. So I think OXG has played this like incredibly well. Stallions too have also played this very well, given that like they had the height of the building. They've dropped down, they've like sort of like wiped their side. But yeah, OXG swinging left definitely was like a very, very good play on their part, knowing to like avoid right side and just wipe left.
Yeah, and it's paid off for them really well now. As we take a look here at the series results, OXG right at the top, 3 points above Tempr, 34 points in their pocket. We've got Cloud9 up there as well. Give me your final thoughts on what we've seen out of these two groups. Are you surprised where any of these teams are falling? I mean, obviously we talked about Team Falcons a lot. They're kind of down there in 17th after the first 3 matches.
Falcons is obviously a shocker. Those guys, I mean, I would have picked them to win the day. They're just sort of playing out of their minds. I would say DSG, I thought this week would sort of be a similar situation with us, coming out with a new third. You want to like sort of like come out the gate hot. I think they will pull it back on Storm Point, but I definitely didn't see them being as low. E8 as well, coming off the back of a win, would sort of expect them to have a lot more points starting off, because you're coming off the back of a win, so you are like sort of coming into today hot. But I think a lot of these teams, SSG, I'd expect them to sort of win the day as well. They've had a slow start even with the win. OXG have blown me away. They're 34 points on World's Edge is a very, very good start. So honestly, today has been completely different to how I would have predicted. If I gave you my predictions for today, I would have lost on pretty much every single team.
I think a lot of people would be right there along with you. Walty, we'll let you go for now, though. It's always wonderful speaking with you. Thank you so much for jumping on and chatting, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right. Always nice, like we say, to be able to chat with them. I like that we got to hear a little bit more about that roster change and what it's like, because quite a few teams have made them now mid-season, and just how you have to kind of change up a lot of things in the middle of the split. So that was really cool as well. But that means it is time for us to switch our focus on to the next map, which means Genome, you shall be departing. We'll see you later. It's time for me and Vicky to take over for just a little bit here as we prepare to get into match number 4. Things are going to change. People's drops will get better or worse depending on how they picked. And I think this is going to be a good one here, Vicky, with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, before that game, I mean, even if it's not by a lot, I was like, Tempr in first place, and they're consistently like up there right now. Yeah. Match 3, I mean, now Oxygen with that big dub are able to take that first place spot, but only by what, like 3 points? So Tempr is right behind them. It's a pretty even top 5 in general. I mean, looking at Stallions being with 25 points and then separating themselves with that first place team, Oxygen with 34. This is going to be where a lot of these teams get to play into their comfort zone. I'm thinking Team Falcons now looking at Storm Point, what they could do differently here, because this is not really what we were expecting from Falcons. We saw, you know, they looked mortal yesterday, but then E8, like what Walty said, you're expecting all these teams to have your pop-off moments, but they've just been very quiet. And I think that was my idea with E8 yesterday, because before yesterday, they were barely even showing up in the 2 match days that they played in. Yesterday, they made a complete turnaround, but they're not really showing up right now too.
Yeah, we even got a chance to talk to Zach yesterday about that turnaround, and if they, you know, were going to be able to kind of snowball with that momentum into today. And Zach knew, he even said, we have to make a big push here tomorrow and in the next like couple match days if we want a chance at staying in this competition. So we'll definitely be looking at them. I think they had a slightly better draft pick in Storm Point, Elevate did, than they did on World's Edge, so maybe they'll be able to work with that a little bit here. But you had mentioned Team Falcons. Obviously, we're keeping our eyes on them not having the best match day here today, and they did have that 4th draft pick for World's Edge. Their pick here on Storm Point was 37th, so might not have been their top choice. And on the flip side, Tempr had a 5th choice draft picks, which we saw popping up there for Spacestation, and there's someone that's right now at the top of this leaderboard, so they might be able to do something. Oxygen might be able to continue their snowball. I think Storm Point's going to really shake some things up.
I agree, and now that we get started already on Storm Point for game number 4, we get to see which teams on their POI have the beacons that they need to start already planning where they want to rotate. And Falcons actually have not just the ring console, but they also have the survey beacon. So kind of getting that loot around Devastated Coast before they quickly rotate. They'll be absolutely happy to see where this circle is going to be pulling, because we are going over to the south side of Storm Point, something that Furia won't be able to get that info from, considering that they're still rocking that lifeline.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they decide to work around that lack of information. Like you said, we're going south, and we can see where that second circle shift is going to go. So Team Falcons don't really have to move very far, but SSG and Flat even more comfortable down there at Pylon and Echo HQ. And we even heard Walty talking about SSG, a team that heading into today was still at the top of that overall leaderboard, sitting up there right under Falcons. They had probably a less than ideal day yesterday, only able to get 6 points when they were in the same lobby where they did well against Falcons the first time around. So SSG are looking to make up a lot of what they missed out on yesterday and close that gap that we saw Falcons has over literally everybody else in NA.
I could definitely do it, especially with the way that things have been playing out so far after World's Edge. And now with Spacestation also having the Evil Harvester to their left, it's up to Falcons to say which direction they want to take, because they hear the evac towers. Vanity is right behind them, and if they don't start rotating quick, they are going to find themselves sandwiched on the slight low ground where other teams could take some shots. I mean, Spacestation, since they do land Echo HQ, they're just going to be able to sit pretty and wait for these squads to rotate towards them.
We also saw Native Gaming getting into that zone nice and early. Falcons running into a potential engagement here up against Flat in the same exact area as SSG. So all of these teams running right next to each other. You can see Team Falcons on less than ideal shields right now. So they're going to try and play this as safely as they can. I'm not really sure where Flat sit with their shields, but this is going to be a battle for space. There's not a lot of real estate going around, and these teams that get in there early are going to have to do what they can to defend everybody else off.
And with the Evil Shields that we're seeing right now from Falcons, that's what we were talking about earlier. They didn't have an Evil Harvester on their POI. Now as they move back, see what they could work with for now before more teams start rotating in, because Vanity is neighboring them. We saw already Spacestation on that south side. Native have made their rotate now out of Coastal. They're getting the ring console info themselves. But so many squads, just like we saw in that last game over in Skyhook, where so many teams could coexist, we're going to see something similar, except it's the squads that are going to be fighting to get out of that launch pad edge of circle positioning.
You know, I do want to give a little bit of love to Native Gaming as well. Obviously, now with the addition of Snipetown to Arcane and Rambo, they have been really quietly consistent. They're right tied with SSG when it comes to those points, under the likes of Stallions and Liquid Alien, whereby only a few points, who both had some really strong performances here today. And I feel like we've seen their aggression increase now that Snipetown's there, and they're starting to kind of figure out the flow between the trio. And speaking of aggression, we've got OXG running through this choke right now, finding themselves in a back and forth with Elevate.
Oh no, now Elevate though, at least in a better spot. Slayer does take some damage here, but Luxford is gonna be able to give in some suppressed pressure with the knuckle clusters. Talk about the loot here too. I mean, he's got the gold extended heavy mag, the 3x scope as well. Before they back away, they were able to get the damage done, but they're also guarding the Evil Harvester, denying that away from teams like Oblivion that were trying to find a way to wrap around behind Oxygen.
Long term might be super helpful for the likes of OXG and Elevate if they're able to kind of press those teams off of any sort of leveling up those Evos. Meanwhile, we've got Furia looking down on some of these teams below, trying to figure out exactly if they can maybe do a little bit of damage. That Arc Star goes down into the smoke, seeing if it connects. It doesn't. We've got things popping off in the kill feed as well. Crook taking out Rambo, Hal taking out Snipetown. So it seems that Native tried to make a push in towards that southern cluster and are getting massively punished for it. CCE now down to a duo as well.
Thankfully, they will be able to get that respawn, though, because they're the team that is still rocking the Loba Rampart. While everybody's fighting on that bridge, guess what? Trev is right behind those amp barriers, taking some shots with a charged up Sentinel. Not finding those shots connecting just yet, as I said that. Now we see Vaxon just moving away from the line of sight of the teams that could be looking at him from the launch pad side here. And Fury defending not only the ring console, but the survey beacon too, denying that from more squads, as Most Hated as well, involved in a fight on the outskirts of the circle, over to the south side, right behind Stallions.
If Most Hated can clear out Stallions, it'll give them a pretty safe rotation through all the way down on the western side towards the south before they have to run into Liquid Alienware, as well as some KP on the board, but they are now taking some damage since they're outside the zone as well. And this will be an opportunity for Stallions to really kind of gatekeep them here, see what they can do. Stallions also have that shield advantage, so there's no reason for them to really force anything. They can kind of lie in wait and let Most Hated come to them if they decide to, or there's the possibility that Most Hated dip, try to wrap around back towards Cedo and see if they can maybe find a safer spot, which looks like that's what they might end up doing, with Stallions opting to play it safer and continue in on their push.
Oof, almost forced, right? Because Most Hated tried to get ahead of Stallions, but Stallions was just way more in front, and they would have held a better position being on the edge of that circle to put in more pressure onto Most Hated. Now going to be able to wrap around those. Stallions know exactly where they want to wrap, but seeing now that the circle's pulling all the way more so towards the east, Stallions have called in that evac tower, but look at all the squads already on top of Echo HQ. That is going to be brutal for the teams that are now going to have to fly in and find their own space.
Especially when you consider that it's, even if it was wide open, there'd be more to work with right now. Half of where that ring is going is just mountain. So there's nowhere for anybody to go to even be in a bad spot within this circle. Everyone's going to have to be fighting for next to nowhere. Might be an opportunity for some of these late rotating teams to really make sure they get their evos leveled up and try to take some fights on the outskirts and at least get some KP on the board, knowing that breaking in to that cluster of teams is going to be almost impossible depending on how they can really time all of it. We'll have to see what ends up happening here. Furia, we see them making a little bit of a move here. They somehow land. Madness takes a little bit of damage, but not as punished as I thought they would be. Managing to hold a little bit of space out here in the low ground and get some loot boxes as well.
Well, they are hungry, at least able to get whatever they need from those boxes, while RKN plays from right underneath them. You see the team, though, holding the middle of Echo HQ with Vanity, going to be able to take some shots at the teams now, all rocking blue. They know that already, and it looks like Furia are just going to be able to coexist in this low ground area.
Furia somehow achieved the impossible, Vicky.
They got away with it. Thankfully, they were able to get the quick reset there, too, thanks to Keon and the drone.
They'll be able to get some information with those Bloodhound scans and hopefully wait everybody else out right now. Still on blues. To be fair, a lot of these teams might be in similar situations with how early a lot of them pushed into this area. And you can see, as I say that, right above them, more blue shields, behind them, blue shields. So might be in a decent spot for now.
Even better if you're Furia and you're the only team rocking the lifeline, where now you could call in Evo Shield caches too with those lifeline care packages. So gotta be able to benefit off of that and be the makeup, rather the change up that a lot of these teams don't really benefit off of without having that purple Evo Shield. Only really off of the poke damage that they're able to put down with the pressure of these other squads trying to show their face. But most hated, not expecting a team lying in wait. It was Disguise that was waiting for them right there on the outskirts. They get that first knock, and Design is trying to close in the gap.
That was insane. I don't even know if Disguise was ready. They were just quicker on the trigger. Both these teams absolutely ran into each other on that rotate. DSG, I think, using that grab cannon to kind of give them a little bit of space and just melted from there. I mean, that's massive for DSG. At least also from a defensive standpoint, making sure nobody really continues any follow-up to that fight. And now they can decide how they want to proceed from there.
Silent but deadly here, because not only do they get that free KP, at least Most Hated is still alive, but they know that Most Hated is in front of them. So Liquid, this is one of the teams that was actually stuck over by Coastal Camp, I believe, in a very tough rotate, have now lost to only leaving Nuzul to stay alive with no support legend to get their banners. You see and hear Moby being called in from a distance, but let's see if he's able to at least pull off Mission Impossible if he can collect his teammates' banners here.
Liquid Alienware was holding that southwest side for so long. They just didn't have a whole lot to work with, man. You could see Stallions kind of in the same position that Liquid was in for quite some time, and now Pioneers holding that choke, looking the exact direction of Stallions. Might be an opportunity for Pioneers there to maybe clean up some KP if Stallions start to try and make a move in. Meanwhile, you can see how many other teams are still very far away on that northern side, and things are not getting any easier. That zone shift actually pulls away from the teams on the southern edge. SSG won't continue to be safe. NRG just barely outside of it. Liquid Alienware, Vanity, everyone's gonna have to continue compressing.
I mean, we got less than 45, or rather 40 seconds on the clock before round 3 starts closing in, and all 20 squads are still alive. I mean, this is going to be absolutely crazy. We talked about coexisting over by Skyhook and World's Edge and what we could expect from a similar look at a circle like this on Stormpoint, and that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing knocks, we're seeing finishes against Snipedown now versus Furia, but it's about the amount of teams that are still alive and trying to find even a corner to coexist in.
Ooh, I like this idea out of Stallions, but I don't know how much they're going to really have to work with. The purple shields will help, but everyone is looking at them as they fly in off that evac tower. Will they be able to survive that damage after also taking some from the zone? We'll have to see. Most hated, one of our teams on the outside, continue trying to just wrecking ball through whoever they can. They're currently looking at OXG inside those buildings. And this is the opportunity for Most Hated to get whatever KP they can.
Oh, but this is huge here. They were able to get a full reset, too, after the jump that we saw from Disguise. And now already rotating away from this choke, taking out one from Oxygen. You see the catwalk getting called in just in case a team wants to creep up from behind them. With Vayne going down and Oxygen fighting for their lives, they have the catalyst that they can bunker down in, but they can't because the circle is closing in right behind them. And even that catwalk that was put up by the choke does not stop CCE from trying to look to see if they can get in a third party.
Ooh, OXG not looking so hot. Frex is the last one alive for OXG and co, trying to see if he can maybe escape. They do go down, but like you said, it's not going to get any easier. CCE heard that things were going down. They push in, see if they can clean it up. Cloud9 also moving in. Most Hated go out, and now Cloud9 have to fight up against CCE. There's still more teams in the wings, though, looking to see if they can be the third, the fourth, the fifth party. Cloud9 staying alive for now with Stay Naughty doing what he can, but they are starting to fall. It's just chaotic left as he's trying to do whatever gatekeeping possible. CCE aren't able to survive. Will the Catwall be enough cover to get a reset here?
Let's see. I mean, Disguise is still busy with this first fight that they decided to take versus Yup. They had wrapped around all of the chaos in Pylon and now have found themselves in the lip that they could call in an evac tower to get out of this position once that next circle starts closing. They take care of Yup, and they are now fixated on C9, who are looking to reset.
C9 though, looking pretty healthy with those shields after they were able to get everybody back up. Did they have enough time to fully heal? We'll have to see as DSG push in Design, trying to get an off angle, gets knocked in response. DSG now down to a duo. Have to see if they're able to finish this fight here while Cloud9 are doing their best to continue pushing them away.
Look at the split positioning, though, from Enemy, though, trying to cover Zen's back. He gets beamed. C9 still up as a full 3-man. They had shield swaps, and they take care of Disguise even when they weren't fully healthy after resetting from their previous fight.
That was massive. Massive for C9. They're gonna have to do what you were talking about though, Vicky, and look for that evac tower in that little indent and see if they can make their way over into that next circle, which is more and more unforgiving as time goes on. We're getting a top down there on Liquid Alienware up against Native in a little bit of a back and forth. And all of these teams are gonna have to start moving in soon with a couple on the outskirts, one of them being Pioneers, who've done a good job holding this choke and giving themselves a little bit of space to breathe. As we say it, C9 goes for the evac tower in.
Oh, with them trying to find a place to land. They are so low because of the circle, and they should have known better. They knew they were waiting for them. The team circle keeping them was no other than KCP, playing on the edge of that circle, but KCP not in any better of a position considering the teams that are waiting for them by that fence.
Definitely not the attention that Pioneers wanted in their direction. Maybe that early on, they're down to a duo trying to survive, but they're near flat. They're near Team Falcons, and they have to see what they can do. Getting those thermites through the hole in the fence right now is the best they've got. Elevate and weave down in the kill feed in the meantime, and flat looking down on Pioneers.
Now one circle, look at this. We're down to 11 squads here. When in circle 3, we had all 20 squads alive. Just how quick things change now as Onwooch is playing off that low ground. NRG trying to rotate away, trying to hug the wall to keep themselves out of the line of sight of the squad that has height right now. Nock took a bit of pressure, was able to get what he needed to do for right now, as well as Liquid still alive, and they were also able to get their teammates up for now. I'm not too sure if they lost another one in that fight with so many other teams that have counter-rotated around Echo HQ.
Ooh. Trying to see
my
if
gosh.
they can get Did that hit? Did that connect?
Yeah, I did. He was so low too. He was literally a pixel of health, and that nade just destroyed him.
That will, at least that'll make Fun happy. They're able to kind of clear out one more on Liquid Alienware, which is really the only team they need to worry about directly above them, as everybody else kind of starts to move more towards the center of this next circle. So Energy might be able to make a big push here, so you can see them kind of preparing to do exactly that.
Oh no. Now more of these teams though. Tempr, the team that had their pick, their preference on Storm Point now, looking great in their positioning inside that next circle. Their backs are cleared, by the way, for now, unless a team like Energy try to get a sneaky angle, but Tempr is not going to let that happen here, and Fury would be able to also see Energy in their line of sight. But so many more of these squads hugging each side of this circle from the west to the east. Spacestation, one of those teams playing off that low ground. You see the skate, you see all the people highlighted here to see what they could do.
Yeah, and SSG has been kind of living down here for a little bit, letting everybody else do a lot of the heavy lifting for SSG. You can see those pings coming through, knowing exactly where some of these other teams are. Team Falcons and Flat might be distracting each other, which could potentially work in SSG's favor. Meanwhile, you mentioned Tempr got that entire north side of the zone to themselves. NRG have survived everything else so far. They're still on that low ground, and we can see where that solo on Liquid Alienware is trying to hold the dead center of the final circle.
This is so chaotic. Look at this. Look at the different angles all these teams, these 8 squads need to approach from. Remember the Furia lifeline care packages that we were mentioning before that allow them to get this quick rotate while still maintaining Evil Shield pressure and charge. And that's why you see Keon with that red Evo. Look at the amount of care packages from each angle of the total that they were holding earlier on. One on one side, another on the other. Still were able to take some shots, while the Fuse continues to be a problem with that knuckle cluster.
Furia have a really solid spot right now. They're able to see a bunch of the teams that are across from them and do some really annoying poke damage, which might kind of open up some fights for the teams that are right next to each other. If they can be that additional third party from a distance. You can see Tempr down there looking at NRG a little bit. Furia seeing if they can maybe peek out and do something as that bang ult comes through. Is Tempr gonna hit this respawn?
How many respawns are we getting at every angle? Oh my gosh, he is one. He gets away for now. He pulls off the res. Was it worth it though? 8 squads left and Vanity are so low. The circle closing in right behind him. He pops the shield back. Beast of the Hunt activated. They play around the knockdown here. Vanity versus Flat. They take care of Flat in this fight. 7 squads left. Nobody wanting to overcommit as Falcons don't want to get pinched between Tempr and Vanity.
There's only one left on Vanity as well. Team Falcons doing what they can do to maybe follow up on some of this damage. Vanity eventually does go down. Team Falcons looking around using this cowl. They know there's a solo standing right there. Gonna clean that one up. That's Tempr now out as well. Thought they had a great position on the north side. Unable to hold it. Team Falcons move in. And now they're looking at everybody else across the way.
Slow and steady lets the Falcons raise their wings though from the low ground, looking at Furia that have height. Even with that motherload right behind their backs, they are beaming with these Havocs here. Jen gets taken out. Energy gets sent back to the lobby. Hal is still alive, just barely. They're looking at him from an angle. He already went for the shield swap. He knows that there's no shield swap in there.
And they stick the res. They stick the res. They might even get a full reset here while everything else is kicking off. SSG was quiet. They're now fighting Furia, and this might open up enough time for Team Falcons to end up punching this down. Furia just down to Keon, who is just barely alive on the lifeline. That bot absolutely saving his life, and Team Falcons make the push up. They close out the match after getting an insane late game res that people just allowed to happen, Vicky.
Are you serious? Can we talk about how aggressive Jen played that on purpose? You had to get aggressive versus Furia there. They were almost able to get the lifeline reset with a gold knockdown. That was so big. Big calls right there from Jen Burden, even down to the wire, because I don't know if Zero was able to get any ammo on any of the death boxes at his feet with all that chaos. But when we looked at Zero at the very end, the last time we saw him on our screens, he had like 30 energy ammo left in the reserve. So that was crazy. Not only getting the res and the reset with so many teams looking at them, but then still being able to climb up and get the dub.
that was a great match.
That
was a great match. There were so many times where Falcons were on the back foot too. Think about how long they were on blue shields and just trying to survive between like 3 teams on that western edge. They were kind of dancing around Tempr for a long time. They were dancing around flat in that area for a long time, not wanting to make that move first or too early. So they played that perfectly, and we were wondering when they were going to kind of bounce back, turn it back on. Well, it was in this match. As we take a look at match 4's results, it's also 10 kills that go the way of Team Falcons for a 22-point game. Not too shabby.
And they needed it. They needed it out here. Huge for Falcons to play that patiently. Again, they do land in Devastated Coast, but like you mentioned, Glitter, they were on what, double white, 1 blue on Tahal for the very beginning of that game. They had no Evil Harvester in their pathing, and they still sat in that final circle patiently waiting for all the teams to come to them. Looking all the way down to Furia getting 6 KP after we saw their rotate, NRG2 waiting patiently on the low ground. Taking a look now at the second page of the squads that were unfortunately unable to find a position in a final circle like that, where we had 20 teams in that second to last circle basically here. As we take a look at C9, yeah, they got the 8 KP. We saw all that chaos over by what, Cedo there or Pylon, and they were able to just mow down so many teams, but it was about rotating out of that chaos where they fell right into KCP's open arms.
But that's why I was talking about it during the game, because there's a point where you know that your likelihood of getting into that final circle is low. Go for those kills, get that KP on the board, because every single point matters. As we get to see some stats here from our top 3 teams. SSG, even though they were on that low ground and trying to wait a lot of the chaos out, still end up with almost 4,200 damage. The kills don't reflect just how much poke they were dishing out to all of these other teams, with the flip side of Team Falcons at 10 and Furia at 6, Vicky.
That is crazy. Now, with that being done and put in the books, let's take a look at the series results and how that's shaken up the leaderboard. This is still so close, Glitter. C9 now lead the way with all the KP that they were able to obtain alongside Tempr with 39 points. But Tempr, Oxygen, Spacestation, I mean, even looking all the way down to Liquid with 31 points, this is a very close top 5.
Absolutely, and that's even further illustrated by the fact that before this match, Team Falcons were in 17th place. They are now in 8th place, 1 point behind 6th, 4 behind 5th, 5 behind. It just gets easier and easier for them. They need 1 pop-up performance. They're back in the running. Talk about one more mediocre game if some of those other teams above them don't do well, and Team Falcons are back in the top 4. So these last 2 matches on Storm Point are going to be very exciting and important to be sure. Before we get into them, though, it's time for another short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Battle Beaver is the official controller partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. What an intense game 4. I'm bringing back Genome with me because Genome, I need help calling out this action because what a final circle that was. I mean, it's not that it's aliens. We've seen that final circle so many times, but it was the way that a lot of these teams are able to approach going into these highlights, especially with these POI drafts and how it's affected the way that some of these teams have rotated into these type of circles.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Tempr trying to get the last minute respawn in. They do it, but yeah, look, does it help out very much? These final circles down at Echo HQ are very fraught. I mean, you get like such a small amount of cover to play behind that if you take one wrong step out, you're just going to get beamed. The way this final played out with the last 3 teams, though, was kind of crazy, right? I mean, it was kind of lucky. Hal was on 1 HP, managed to survive, and then we saw that insta stick on the res there from 0 as well. And I think that's definitely like a Falcons special where they have enough confidence that they just go for it, because it's like, well, if we don't get it, what's going to happen anyway? We're still probably going to lose. So they're just so good at identifying their win conditions and then going with that.
Yep, it's actually really crazy too, the way that they were also able to acknowledge where Furia was standing, because remember where Furia lands in Storm Point, they land in Cliffside, a spot that nobody has wanted to go. And with Madness and the Furia tweet, it's going to be us, we're going to be stuck with Cliffside, and they were. Except, guess what? They got 2nd place and they got to that spot where that final circle was pulling from the very beginning. Quick moves here from Furia, and if anyone could deal with it, it's definitely Furia when it comes to Dia de Furia really coming to show up.
Yeah, manifesting in full force there. Look, yeah, congrats to them for grabbing some points out of it, and it's also good to get some data points on the on the board as well, because if no one picks it, we'll never know how good it is as a POI. But all of a sudden, we do have just an inkling that maybe it's not as bad as teams might have thought.
Well, Team Falcons, last seed in picking for Storm Point. They had that priority over by World's Edge. Gonna be able to make do with the loot that they have to work with, but at least this time, Gino, they got the Evo Harvester, they got a Ring Beacon on top of that, so they'll be able to make their next move just as quickly as we've seen them before on World's Edge, where they prioritize the circle, because we are moving on over to the outskirts of Cedo, maybe that hilltop north of that survey beacon.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Is it a bean circle? Today I've been just using the Atlas on DSG a lot to try and inform this. We actually have not seen a lot of zones around that area at all. Within that sort of circle that we can see right there, most of them have been on the edge, and most of them have actually been towards Cascade Falls. So like sort of where that bottom member of Pioneers is right there, and that's why early on we've seen people take residence in those buildings just to the east of the little cut through between Checkpoint and Cascade Falls. So are we expecting people to get there? Are we expecting a lot of people to just sit in Cedo? Because obviously with that circle, if you're in Cedo, you'll be at least in for another 2 or 3 circles, and that's a fair spot to play from and hedge your bets. Anyway, we'll see where we end up.
Usually when it comes to trying to get through Cedo, there's a beacon that some teams could play off of. Didn't get to see if it was right there on top, since so many more of these squads are already rotated on top of Cedo. Tempr, CCE being another one. Trying to see if they could wrap around here too, but you could already see with Native, their plans to just bunker down in this building. They'll be in the middle of all the chaos, but with the Catalyst, it works into their legend composition, right? So they're gonna be able to sit in that building and then wait for a lot of these teams to either poke or show face, but it could be detrimental if a team with full purple Evos scoop up in that building to take a fight if the circle does pull away from here.
Couple of what ifs here. Just have to wait and see how many of them come to fruition. Vanity, not a team who's been troubling the score as much today, as we'd say in cricket. But as you can see, they've got a fair bit to get moving and shaken over to the west side of the map. They're taking it slow. They're also worryingly close to Falcons, who are going to be really raring to take down some teams after that epic performance we saw in our first game on Storm Point. Very much a relief from them after their World's Edge disaster.
Where they find that success on Storm Point. Oh, no, Hanmu was able to get away. Even though he slipped a little bit off that cliffside, was able to put down that smoke just in time. Deep's now trying to give him some suppressed fire. While backing away, they know that teams could easily come through here just so that way they could try to prioritize that Evo Harvester alone. Something that we've been seeing so many times for the teams that want to not only fight for that extra Evo charge, but also for these high ground positioning if they don't have information on where the circle may be pulling. And it looks like KCP have successfully wandered Weave off, so they're going to have to back away, maybe rotate from the other side of Wall. Don't believe there was a ring console in Wall, so maybe that may be why they don't have that info. But more squads like Oxygen were able to get a survey beacon scan over to the south side of KCP, so they see how many of these squads have already taken up some space over by Cedo Station.
Yeah, because there's kind of two ways you get that information, right? One is directly via the ring console, and the other one is indirectly via the survey beacons, and then making an inference from where all of the other teams are sitting. And they're mostly clustered around Cedo Station at this point, and then with a sort of secondary circle of teams who are still deciding to, you know, grab some extra Evo harvesters and then make their way in, but certainly that central concentration of teams in Cedo would lend you to believe that is where you should be.
Monkey see, monkey do, though, because who knows if this is where that circle is going to commit to. Gotta take your chance, though, if you don't have any other information to base that off of. With so many other teams now, I believe there's like 5 or 6 teams that are already at Cedo. Teams like E8, though, after really putting themselves on board at the end of yesterday's match day, taking some time to ramp up, but this is around the time where Elevate usually comes to shine. Gonna have to see how they rotate with that Trident.
Oh, Cloud9, it's been an okay start for them, but they have some picking up here to do in Split 2. Let's see if this is the game they can do it with Listen In.
Yeah, well, this is
Do you want to go back?
I think
Let's go back.
to go back.
Can we need to be careful here?
You might have to wall it across. It wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, well, if we need to.
If you have to, yeah. Just for sauce.
I'm gonna get on this rock.
He's boosting on you, sauce. Or he's boosting and he just grabbed the cash.
He's getting cash. He's getting cash.
What the flip?
Our left
I'm gonna
looks
shoot his
good.
car.
We look good right now. We look good.
Yeah, they still have
Okay,
blue.
he has cars, so that is an any team. All of Bean is free right now. We just can't get there.
We got double evac.
No.
There's a car there. I don't know if it matters.
Can we look top checkpoint safely? DSG is gonna be super slow here.
Yes, we can do it. Trying to walk up.
Yeah,
Okay.
hold on. Let me pop a medkit. We all need a full.
Do they have a survey up there?
They do.
Checkpoint? So they'll
Yeah,
know
they gotta
about
be
us.
there.
Reminder, it is DSG. Design likes to play to fight and be the only team on checkpoint side coming out. Okay?
Yes.
Heard it.
So we know if they probably want to fight us.
Yeah, do not get around.
Awesome calls there from C9. You can hear them talking about what design is doing, what the Disguised game plan is here, and they're right on the money. Disguised are currently sitting around checkpoint, you know, where their POI is for this series, and yeah, Cloud9 trying to work out whether they should, you know, sort of contest that higher ground with them, whether they should play for one of those objectives there, the survey beacon or the ring console. And not only that, Vicky, but also the zone.
With that zone pulling KCP though, the jump again. Oh no, we have seen this before. And Onmu calling out Stunny, completely unexpecting that squad to just wait outside those bunker doors. You hate to see it, but you love to be on KCP side for some free KP.
Yep, that's a nice little one for them. The other two members of Vanity trying to back out. Let's see if they can actually get their deeds. Clearly wanting to get a scan on that ring console, but you know, he'd also take some KP if they came their way. Seems like they're not quite that silly, and they will actually back out. But yeah, as we were just talking about, that was a big ring pull there. That's not necessarily these teams may not have realized that. I mean, I was talking about how all of that sort of central part of the zone, we haven't seen a lot of endings there, and so, you know, what the only result left, however crazy, you know, must be the answer, and you know that would lead you to believe it was somewhere around the edge of there, maybe a bean, maybe a cascade, maybe a checkpoint ending.
And that's what we got in store for us, which means that there's going to be 6 teams over by Cedo that are going to be very disappointed now when they get to see that next ring pool. Teams like Elevate, though, playing perfectly in the middle of where this circle is pulling. We talked about them showing up for Storm Point. Well, this is their opportunity to do so in that position and the legend comps that they have opted for. See the knuckle clusters coming out from them as we tune into Weave, who have wrapped around Elevate, maybe looking to see if they could get closer to the survey or play off the high ground if they don't have that info. Catwall has been called in with the fight happening over to the outskirts of Mill. It is a Liquid that has height. Stallions right below them alongside Yup, who are looking to get this res.
Okay, 3-way skirmish here. Who comes out on top? Liquid have really done their best to turn their fortunes around today. A lot of the blame was lying at the feet of Yanya, who went from star player to certainly lacking, but he's trying to get back into peak form now. And I'm loving what we have seen from the Bloodhound player today.
It's been great. Also being able to just see where a lot of these teams have been trying to lie in wait. You see the pings, you see the scan, nobody waiting for them on the other side, but I like this roundabout rotate from Liquid, because not only did they figure out that it is free for them to walk in thanks to that scan, but there's literally nobody on the outskirts of this choke that are looking at them. I mean, it's a very difficult choke once that circle does pull here and other teams see it to hold, because then teams like Disguise are going to inevitably look in that direction to try to give them some pressure. It actually looks like they're looking at them right now, and that next circle being on the edge that Liquid could play off of. Still, though, a position that they could get sandwiched in.
Yeah, you never want to be in the middle of 2 pieces of bread. Definitely not in Apex, and it looks like Albraleli's the one suffering that fate at the moment.
If they could reset the very least here. Looking at Dupe, calling in that Moby, most hated on top of them. More teams are coming up from right behind them. Native will make an appearance eventually. So many of these squads have already now moved out of Cedo after seeing the circle pull. So you know that those bunker doors north of Cedo, outside of Cascade, is going to be very hot on the block.
Wow, a Wope almost gets caught out there. He was so split from his team. Has to burn the catwall just to make it out safely. And even then, you can see, needs to buy himself 10 seconds to pop a Phoenix here. His teammates come in just to try and save the day. That was a close call.
That was a little scary there. Was able to reset as Spacestation dropped down. Trying to see the last person. Fury, whether Keon was actually isolated from the rest of his team, and he was so low, so Spacestation just dropped down from the high ground. And now they are going to be able to play off of that gold knock themselves. Going to be taking that from the death box. Looking at the team that's looking at them from across, it's going to be Oblivion, Furia, neighboring Spacestation after losing out on that lifeline. Koiful, though, can't get into cover on time. He wanted to avoid that team by that choke. You see the mass ping, you see the mother load, and Oxygen with full blues now want to take advantage of them losing out on another member.
Ooh. Can Oxygen use this to pick up some KP? The zone shrinks. It's going to be a very hard rotation here from Oxygen. They've got amped cover, holding them out on one side. The other way, they'd have to go through the tunnel that Oblivion's holding, and they'd be about third in line for that. You know, for that recipe, which really no one wants to be eating. So I think that's probably about it for Oxygen. How many teams will fall prey to the Sheila here?
Uh-oh. Waiting for it. CCE. It's free pickings for this team that was sitting here with the Rampart and Loba comp. Looking at all the squads stuck outside the circle. I mean, if you're these teams, yeah, you're popping these med kits right on time. But looking at the other side, CCE are going to be able to profit off of this KP unless Tempr has something to say about it.
Yeah, they're getting pressured from the other side. I mean, CCE, whenever they find a spot they want to hold, they're like a barnacle. Like, you just cannot get rid of them. They will sit there till the end of time. And certainly it was enough to hold. You can see Flat going down to the ring. Oxygen also died out there in the zone. There was no chance that they were coming in against CCE. But on the other side, were they as well set up? It seems like it. Tempr have been caught off guard, and CCE now pull in for the kill. And it might be the fight with Native after that they have to worry about.
He slid into immediately died frame one. That was very unfortunate. CCE, though, trying to still take out some other heads here as Kroba is the last one alive. You see the cleanup now as Native Gaming moved in not only for the third party, but guess who's here for the fourth party? It is Most Hated with the scan to see who is left.
Okay, so more pressure on the other side. And yeah, that does mean we say goodbye to Native. But they don't have a lot of time, Most Hated. They need to move back. They need to get back towards the spiders because the zone is going to close, and anyone who's stuck on that side of it is really going to struggle. CCE, I don't know how they're going to make it out of this.
I'm not too sure. If they don't have an evac, then that's going to be GG for CCE with the circle closing in now. NRG not losing out on his shield. Going to be able to get away into some cover. NRG now looking at the squad right across from them, though. I believe it is Disguise that are looking at them before they move into this next circle. Liquid, though, are also looking at Disguise, waiting for the opportunity as NRG now get the knock onto enemy. CCE in your feeds get eliminated. Oblivion meet them back in the lobby, and maybe Disguise here, too, as NRG clean up the west of this team from in front. Disguise get eliminated. NRG alive with that catalyst wall, providing the cover that they need before Team Liquid moved in.
Ooh, and Fun gets the bat off as well. Wow, they come out of that surprisingly healthy. That was an incredible effort there for NRG to not only grab some KP, but also do it in a fashion that means they actually have a life, a chance in this end game. They have a future. And looking towards Team Falcons here, that's who they're currently locked in this battle with. They hopefully should be able to take space either on top or underneath them. Maybe even, in the other building. So they actually take some of that space out, and this circle the next circle won't really encompass this building, but it will allow them to survive until just at the end.
The comeback would be absolutely massive here. We got to see how this plays out with C9 still holding on to this building from the slight lip of the low ground. They're going to have to start leaving soon, though, as you can see. Nice side-by-side comparison on where that circle is moving. 5 squads left. It is C9 to the south. Elevate holding their own building to their right on the high ground. Falcons and NRG are coexisting, and Liquid is the only team without a building to play off of.
You say they don't have the building, Vicky, but my lord, do they have a lot of space. They're free! Free out there. They might be camping, might be in the tents, but honestly, they're out there gazing at the stars, and they're going to have a better time of it, frankly, than most of these other teams who are going to be also, sort of out there, but probably without a sleeping bag once they get to Zone 6. It gets a lot harder at this point. Team Falcons have moved up into 5th place. Can they go further? Will Storm Point be their redemption? Will it be their triumph even?
I love the flatline. I mean, at this point, got to avoid these bombardments. The Arc Star's cracking how he's won. He can't get down in time. He doesn't follow behind Jen. Instead, he held back to pop that shield bat. Jen is low. Zero, though, is frying. He takes care of Lux. They are completely going to engage onto this. They take care of Elevate. Zero, the risk coming in to at least get some extra points for Team Falcons before they're eliminated in 4th. And now this is Liquid playing off of the knockdown. Liquid holding split angles versus NRG. C9 is still alive, but they come out and they got the shield swap to work with.
Okay, but Liquid have come in over the top here. Do they have the advantage over C9? Trying to hide behind the knockdown shields. Liquid with the high ground. They wrap it up.
Just a matter of time, Genome. You talk about the choke that they were holding southwest of Disguise position on checkpoint for free. Nobody was going to contest them on that north side. It was really just Disguise, but that also goes hand in hand with how strong that Catalyst wall was. With Disguise trying to engage on that fight, it isolated Liquid, who then could just go in for free. They were also able to reset quickly too, with all the other teams running these Catalysts being inside of these buildings.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second time today, at least, I think, that we have seen Team Liquid with a firm grasp on a final zone and playing it well, making sure that they buy themselves time and space to take these last fights calmly with, whereas everyone else is scrambling. They've lost a member. They don't even have time to pop a med kit when Team Liquid engage and finish them off.
I wonder from the perspective of somebody not on Bloodhound what that final circle looked like. There were so many smokes. We saw 2 different bombardments coming in with the Bang ult. As we take a look at the match results, Liquid, though, still playing outside of all that chaos. Not only take the dub, but they get it with 9 KP.
Not too shabby there. Cloud9, though, I think they were in first place going into this game, so picking up 13 points is doing a lot to keep them in the lead. NRG keep it on the comeback, and so does Team Falcon with 11 points.
Getting that 6 KP here. Elevate, at least with placement here on Storm Point, going to be able to secure that 3 KP. While we take a look at our second page, we saw what happened to a lot of the teams that had to exit out of Cedo. Looking at CCE, even getting the KP that they could get, it was just a difficult spot to rotate from, and I honestly don't think they had an evac tower to even get around that hill. So them falling down here in 11th place, Native coming in right behind him with 3 KP.
Yeah, liking CCE's logo as well. Is that a new pickup there? Looks like looks very corporate, you know? They could be a tech firm in no time, and I'd believe it.
It does look pretty fresh, honestly. What is also fresh to look at is this team comparison here, because C9 very close side by side with Liquid in the way that C9 was holding that southern building for quite some time. Once they figured out where that circle was pulling, you can see here between 2,600 damage with Liquid, 2,400 damage differential with C9.
A lot of assists there coming in from Team Liquid. Alienware to help put them equal top. Wow, okay, didn't see that one coming. TL 52 points there. So we've got 2 top dogs with 5 games played, Vicky, and then a couple coming up on the back of them with Tempr certainly shocking some people, and Oxygen and Falcons following up closely behind. They could do it. They could still get on top, but it would be they'd essentially need a win.
You have to have a massive final game, and with the way that they've been playing, securing that final circle positioning with the Catalyst, who knows what can happen here for our final game of the day in North America, everyone. That's coming to you on the other side of this break. Welcome back, everyone. 5 games down, 1 more to go, and we've had 5 different teams take the dub thus far. Now, can we get a repetition maybe on a dub for this final game, or are we going to see a 6th team take this win?
No, I'll have to wait and see. I feel like I wonder what the percentage actually is on that, on like how many series we see with 6 different winners versus, you know, how many times there's a double up. Might actually be pretty close.
I think we actually had that in NA yesterday too, with 6 different teams taking the win. As we take a look at some of these highlights, Falcons, they got to final circle positioning, but it was just this chaos. The bang ult coming in. You had arc starts to dip and dodge from. You saw Team Liquid playing off of this natural cover that the Rock has before scooping up all the extra loot that they may need, while C9 had to fight from the low ground. They were able to get that knock originally, but Liquid were just on the high ground, had a way better spot side by side between Muzel and Jungle to take this win.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like C9 played it very well to go for 2nd place, essentially, there. But, you know, it definitely wasn't good enough to oust Team Liquid from their domineering position all the way up the top. 1 game left of Storm Point. Who can do it? Will it be Team Liquid? Will it be any of those other teams? Tempr, Falcons are close behind, so are Oxygen. But the one team who hasn't won a game so far, Vicky, but is still doing pretty well all the way up the top.
Oh, okay.
Cloud9.
All right, C9. Their best placement, I believe, has been that 2nd place here too. So C9, they are so close, but they have just not been able to get that dub just yet. Let's see if they could do it here for our final game, as they're sitting in that 2nd place spot right behind Team Liquid. Love this little flyby here while all of our legends get set up. It's been nice to also see a bit of a shift up when it comes to certain legend compositions to make do with the Bloodhound, the Bangalore, but then you get to insert the Catalyst, the Watson, the one Caustic, and even the Lifeline that we've been seeing Furia really commit to.
Has been fun seeing what teams have got in the bag so far. I mean, we keep looking at CCE because, you know, they're the ones that stand out quite a lot compared to these other compositions. I mean, hey, we went back to APAC South and we had 5 legends picked across the entire series yesterday, Vicky. So a little bit more experimentation happening over here in NA, and it's nice to see. Not a huge amount, but a little bit more.
I like the approach. If you're in Pro League, here's the time to do it if you have some room to breathe, especially before you figure out what you want to do differently for LAN. Seeing now where our circle is going to be taking us for this final game, maybe on the north middle side of Storm Point, while Liquid is going to be able to split loot barometer as we usually have seen them go for. But it's mostly about the teams that have either the ring knowledge already to them, Tempr being able to get some information from Cedo and that survey beacon, but this circle is pulling on top of CCE, where they have a ring console, and with that rampart, they already know where it's going to be pulling.
It looks like very well could be on that hill beneath Lightning Rod, beneath, you know, we can call it by the vestigial name Thunderwatch, the lower part of it. And if you drew a brush stroke essentially up, you know, from sort of the left side of Stormcatcher and then all the way up the hill into Thunderwatch, that's where we've seen quite a few circles end so far. So I think, you know, chances are that is where it ends.
Seeing here with NRG, going to be able to also have that information, while Furia preaching about Cliffside. Going to be fighting out the wildlife on Storm Point to get any crumb of extra Evil Shield that they could work off of. Teams like Vanity going to be able to have that Evil Harvester to their north. Team Falcons, though, another ring console right here, and at least for this final game, they also have that Evil Harvester over to their side.
Always nice to have one of those in your back pocket. There'll be a couple on their way to the circle, in fact. Cloud9, however, I guess they can go through wall, grab the beacons and whatnot. Maybe they want to take a late rotate up past Zeus Station and come in through there. Could be a little bit roundabout, but also could pay dividends. It just depends on how you want to trade off, you know, that sort of progression towards purple. If we're talking about non-lifeline teams, it's just purely purple that you're sort of looking for, and a late rotate in plus a spot in zone. But you also have to be confident that you can, you know, find a beacon, or should I say a ring console, to get that late info on two. CCE, of course, definitely do not ascribe to that policy. They pick a spot, they pick it early, and they set up.
Deny anything else from any of these other squads that may want to creep up and get that information if it exists here in Lightning. You already see with the black market, barriers already set up, and Tempr taking care of Snipe Down. Not the way that Native want to open up this final game here.
Oh, no. Not a good start at all. Okay. Native Gaming. It's been tough for them at times today, and yeah, they've certainly made it hard for themselves here in this final zone.
Tough, especially when you're in that top 10 here, looking at Native, sitting on that cusp. See if they could maybe try to do something for Snipe. See more teams already on their rotate. Although it is nice to know Native don't have a support legend. They have the Catalyst, the Bangalore, and Snipe obviously being on that blood, so they're gonna have to try to commit if that's what they end up doing. While Furia don't really have to deal with that here. Instead, they're just holding this choke, seeing if any other squad wants to sneak up through that tunnel side that leads into Stormcatcher. But playing on this edge is great because they could also keep the survey beacon in their line of sight that's right next to them to deny that information from other teams.
I mean, it's always a bit of a risk in Apex if you're playing, you know, to sort of deny other teams, because unlike a traditional sort of, you know, team v team based esport, you really just have to worry about yourselves to some extent. There's so many other teams getting involved that, you know, you can't deny something from all other 19. It just doesn't work like that. You really have to, you know, at times in the end circle, if you know there's a position that's going to be critical to you getting further, then you can worry about it. But yeah, a lot of the time it's just too much of a burden to put on yourself, too much responsibility to try and say, hey, we can keep this from the rest of the lobby.
Unless you got that ego. You got ready to go for that final game.
Oh, there's enough of that going around.
All right, especially here, of course. I love how we got to mention that as Oxygen. A little bit of a tough spot right now, though. Aiden losing out on so much health, forced to pop the shield bat, while Freck tries to give some suppressed fire, even if he doesn't hit those G7 shots. Holding on the edge here, using that second smoke, that 10 seconds before he gets his next smoke. But they're also looking at Falcons and Furia in the distance.
Yeah, no light mag on the Scout. Actually, one of the weapons that it probably matters the most to have it, because that initial jump from 10 to 15 bullets really helps you with some sustained fire. Oh well. Maybe he finds that later. Furia just on the outside here. They do actually have to move in a little bit closer, and I'm not sure what kind of spot they're actually going to be able to find, especially when you've got... I mean, Falcons aren't looking at them. They're actually looking downstream at Yup to the south of them.
Oh man, and they're the only team rotating from that choke here too. They're gonna be on that slight low ground, while Falcons also looking to their backs to make sure that Oxygen doesn't capitalize off of the fight that they're hearing and try to sandwich Falcons. A tough spot to be in, but still in that next circle nonetheless. You could even see after being able to find out where everybody else is after maybe scanning that survey that they could play off this lip. Avoiding that nade for right now, having to drop down from the high ground. Zero trying to make his next move, while they're still feeling the pressure from Oxygen.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to feel that as the zone constricts around them. you know, this area of the map, there's, you know, several steps one above the other. Sure, they have the high ground on Yup, but Oxygen have the high ground on Falcons, and that should they choose to push the issue, Falcons are going to have to react very quickly to that. Map awareness, you know, just awareness in general of where these other teams is extremely important. Flat, they end up getting a lot of those kills over onto Yup, but now they've just put themselves in a similar position in Oxygen's side. Oh, sorry, in Falcon's side.
Yeah, and what's even crazier here is Vanity wanted to try to take a similar approach to going right through that mountain tunnel side on Oxygen, seeing if they could get an angle. They already noticed that Falcons have committed to this fight. House slides down with the L-Star, the meatball slinger to finish off Nano, and now he's got that purple Evo. This is the confidence in taking these fights here. All about that timing, playing patiently though. How gets beamed, having to work around the other side of the catwalk. Following up though is Zero. Don't worry. Flat, yet taken care of just as quick as Falcons had tried to take in that fight.
Oh, the tip of the spear. Hal's been going down a few times first today, and sometimes that's the correct move, and sometimes he's bitten off a little more than he can chew. Against Flat there, he does come out on top and doesn't, you know, cost them anything. So Oxygen's still looking out. Falcons, they've got a couple of KP, but I don't know, their next move is actually going to be quite tough. When we look at Liquid, however, they've got a little more time to work with. Stormcatcher is an okay spot to be launching their next assault from. And if the ring does end up pulling onto that hill between Thunderwatch and Stormcatcher, then, you know, they'll have as good a chance as anyone of finding a spot on that treacherous slope.
Let's check out that area. Oof. Still so hard, but at least a lot of cover to work with in the natural landscape. See the pains coming in from C9. Circle closing in, whether they want to commit to the high ground. They know that there's a team waiting for them uphill, or if they want to wrap around and then take this fight versus Furia, who are on that north side. Well, Team Liquid, out of that fresh win in that previous game here, continuing on the pressure. One of the teams actually coexisting over here by the side of Stormcatcher.
Yeah, the architecture of this circle really lends itself towards a lot of small chokes, like the ones that we saw, you know, Furia trying to hold out there, like the, you know, all those little tunnels around Stormcatcher, even Falcons, who are actually pushing up now to that spot where Oxygen were. There's just all these very constricted points as the punching comes out from Yanya. RKN, please defend yourself.
Can't collect anything when a Presidente himself is coming through with the rest of Liquid to mow down the competition. And that is definitely one thing that I've always said about Team Liquid. As a squad, these individual players have always, with momentum, looked so scary, but it's about feeling that confidence and that momentum. As C9, they creep up, they know there's somebody around here. A rat. Waiting through maybe as they get the scan, but a little too late. They creep up. They knew, but they weren't expecting them to be waiting for C9 as they get the beam onto this team first.
Oh, I think that's Tempr playing in with them here. I believe Weave is on top. I'm just trying to read the map feed, but again, you know, the topography of this particular part of the map is hard to tell who is where. The shots are coming out. Somehow Cloud9 get the cells off, get the bats off, and they make it out unscathed.
Wait. But for how long? They don't know. They don't know. The same play again on the other side. Oh, you can't.
Come on, man.
Just the C9 tradition has expanded through so many different esports. C9 gets jumped, this time by Disguise. And Tempr are going to hear this fight, and Tempr are going to want to show face.
Yeah, they're thinking about it. That's so rough. I mean, that was straight up out of the frying pan and into the fire. Oh, Disguised. Well, they take the mask off, and as they do it, it's not a good end of the story here for C9 as Stay Naughty is just gonna try and find his way out of this. Too scared to... He's actually trying to pop the med kit. Let's see if he gets there.
I am completely just... They heard his footsteps, but I prioritize this rotate. They have to, because now the circle is closing in. I don't expect Naughty to live this. He doesn't even have a med kit. He's only got syringes, really. And he's coming up right behind Disguise. There's only so much you could really do. Takes it right back to where
he doesn't even know where that goes, by the way. He was just like, well, I may as well try.
Maybe he heard them putting it down, but I mean, C9, lovely look as a death box, unfortunately.
Let's erect a gravestone there. Here lies the last of C9. Stay naughty. Now, we would be remiss at this point to not talk about Falcons, because where this circle has shifted, by the way, they crept up, they took out oxygen, and it is not ending on the treacherous slope, Vicky. It's actually going to the right side, and Falcons have no one at their back and only good things ahead of them. You know how we said one of those teams below had to get a good game to come up ahead of Team Liquid, to come up ahead of Cloud9? Well, Cloud9's gone. Team Liquid, they're all the way down the bottom of Stormcatcher here, as we can see. Maybe Falcons have actually got this.
Hold up, they are frying right now. They not only took care of Oxygen, they finished off what was left of Furia, and then finished off Most Hated, who was fighting with Furia originally. Look at the freedom that Team Falcons has in that circle. Now Liquid fighting for their lives.
Falcons already have 9 kills.
Wow. It's all for playing patiently on the edge of that circle. I mean, there were teams that were rotating into them. They took those fights and then took that fight versus Oxygen. They are living rent-free up in that circle. And Nizul, not much living here for Team Liquid, the team that took game number 5. Now back to the lobby they go for our final game here, while CCE have kept up the pressure from this high ground.
Oh, man. Yeah, look, there's a whole other game going on down the hill up on Thunderwatch, but the real game is to the east, and it's against the big bosses. They're coming to take what is rightfully theirs. This NA Pro League. Doesn't matter. They can get 0 points or close to on the first map, Vicky, and they are going to storm home. This is genuinely crazy that they could actually win this series on one map alone. Oh my god, look at the armor swaps. Oh my god.
They have so much to work with, even the meds. Look at this, for anything that they need. As teams like Spacestation fight their way from the hilltop, they see Disguise coming in to their right. Vanity, another team flying in. It was 2 teams that took the evac tower, and they're still not in the circle. There are 5 other squads inside of this building, and Space Station are wrapping around with Disguise. Only 2 alive after Zen gets taken out.
Yep, 6 squads currently in Thunderwatch. Maybe 1, maybe 2 will be left alive at the end of this circle, because only a fraction of it will be left in. SSG goes down. Oblivion joined them. Team Falcons slide down the hill. And, well, they may have inherited Harold. Maybe they've inherited his favorite spot to finish off games, too.
What is it with Storm Point and this team? It just gives them the boost that they need to stay on top, even with the pressure, with teams taking shots at them. CCE with that 30-30. Falcons don't have to go anywhere. It's CCE that needs to drop down and go into their line of sight. There is nobody left in this entire map that could contest Falcons from the east side.
Not at all. They only have to worry about west. That's great. No one has to worry. Look at their back. The anchor player can fully contribute to the team. All 3 of them are laser focused on the win, on the series win here. Team Liquid have been taken out. All of the other competition have been taken out. So why don't we listen in to see if they know that they're on the cusp of victory here?
Like this zone, the game ends.
They're bailing us. That team. Underneath.
Underneath on the right side. They're trying to look out. They're gonna catwalk at me 100%, bro. I'm telling you right now.
I'm just coming now.
I'm cracking them. I have to get out of this. I'm safe on me. Do they do it?
I'm cutting.
No. I'm shooting on them. I cracked one. I'm going back to my rock. They're jumping on them.
Okay.
Yep. Shooting.
I'm looking.
I don't want to go too far forwards. Full team here. Costa team here. Full team, full team. They're gonna wrap it left.
I cracked the caustic.
Make sure we don't lose everything. The left side. I'm gonna pick left.
Yeah.
Combi scans, guy right there.
I'm scanning. Aim in the cowl.
Oh my god, Falcons 56 points, as you can see on your screen. They've done it. They've won the series. Let's see if they can close out this game as well. NRG and Pioneers are still between them and a game 6 victory, but I think they've got this one in the bag. Oh my god, they barely even have to touch them.
The circle doing just enough to act as a fourth for Team Falcons. With that being done and the amount of KP they got, Genome, Team Falcons, it just took Storm Point. They did it. They did it. That was more than enough for them to take first place in this entire lobby. Once again, this script writes itself.
What do you want me to say? I mean, it was... look, for anyone out there who even for one moment, even halfway through this series, thought the Falcons couldn't come out on top, thought the Falcons wouldn't come out on top, well, there's your answer. Don't ever doubt them again. You know, we were talking about ego before, Vicky. I can't even, like, fathom what the egos are going to be like for these 3 players after coming back and winning from a position like that. Mind-boggling.
It's just the fact. I mean, also, let's not forget that they were the last team to pick for the POI drafts for Storm Point there as well. So, like, they got devastated Coast and still won twice. That is crazy. But honestly, not surprising from a team like Team Falcons. If anything, the only thing that was surprising was seeing the way that they were able to keep their mental straight after honestly not having the best games on World's Edge, and then seeing the turnaround, the comeback onto Storm Point.
Oh, man. All right, well, let's have a look at the results here. They have to have a banger game to do it. We said it at the start of the end of Game 5. They pull out a 29-point game to win.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I even want to mention anything else.
I can't. 17 KP. The dub, by the way, for free. There was not a team from their north, from their east, from their south. No squad to contest them in a circle like that. While we take a look at the second page from match 6 results, when we saw Liquid go down, I feel like, Genome, that's when we knew that that was a wrap there.
Yeah, that was pretty much it, wasn't it? There were 2 teams that were, you know, obviously much further ahead than Team Falcons going into that final game, and then wow, they blow it out of the water. They do what only the Falcons can do, frankly.
That C9 title, by the way, guys, that was them raging on the keyboard after getting ratted on twice with 2 different teams. Anyways,
the face roll.
Can't, just after seeing their name, just though, I mean, on that second page, I don't blame them there. But Glitter, what an intense last game.
I feel like I have so many questions, and I hope we get an opportunity to talk to them, because I got to ask them. Okay, that was absolutely insane to have literally half the opportunity the rest of the lobby had to get points, and not only win, but do it with a point gap. Well, let's take a look back at these final circles, because this is just absolute chaos. And it all started the second we made it here to Storm Point, like you guys were saying. Okay, we get to match number 4, and we're watching all of these teams fight. Falcons look like they're in a decent position. You've got Furia here as well, SSG as well, NRG go down first, and Falcons lose Gen, okay? And you see how low Hal gets in this situation. Able to get himself healed back up, but almost isn't. Somehow 0-6 the res while this is all going down, and not only are they able to reset, but then they push up and clean up the fight between Furia and SSG. And this was just the beginning of the most insane comeback I think we've ever seen in a match day, Vicky.
Yeah, what's even crazier is that how Keon had to focus on 2 teams at the same time, and Falcons still was able to climb up and take out that last squad.
Talk us through what happened next in match number 5, because once again, we've got a POV here on Team Falcons.
Yeah, here we get to see how does get taken out, and Zero was dancing around everything that he possibly could, but it was about getting the extra KP that was a necessity for this team. All Liquid, they had height even though they lost 1 for this final circle. It was C9 waiting for them from down below. They even had called it an evac to jump right down and above in the middle of this fight, but Liquid also had shield swaps available to them with these death boxes. Side by side, they held this high ground here. They were just melting down these knockdown shields with the Havoc, even when he didn't have an extended energy mag on that gun, and Honguades was the finishing blow to that fight.
Yeah, there's no reason that Liquid did not take that match home. And then I don't know what to say about this one, Genome. The most perfect position that's ever been seen and held in match 6 to just straight to Team Falcons.
Yeah, apparently Hal's learned from the last couple of times he won from this spot, because this one looked even easier. I mean, I was gearing up for this final fight, and then it didn't even happen. Like, Team Falcons rocked up and they just like sort of shot a piercing gaze at the other 2 teams, and they fell over and died. There was nothing left of them by the time that Falcons got here. The end of this fight was just so quick and so easy for them. At this point, you know, they had 14 kills in the bag. And then look at this. It just looks over at them and they say, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, we're 13 points ahead of everyone else and we win again.
I mean, and you can see just how dead even they were with Liquid Alienware, who was also very consistent today, but it was the slaying power, it was the aggression out of Team Falcons that gave them that 13-point disparity above the rest of the lobby. Everybody kind of trickles in from there. We saw some really nice solid performances out of Cloud9, quiet consistency out of NRG. But Vicky, the fact that at halftime we were looking at Team Falcons almost dead last, okay? They were in 17th place and now they're at the top.
Getting 2 dubs on the map that you find yourself with the advantage, even when you're landing in Devastated Coast and you are the last team to pick what POI you land on, that just shows how strong of a team Team Falcons is in making those adjustments. Even talking to our pros for today, we heard that this is point with the POI drafts. It's all about how your IGL could quickly readjust, and Falcons did just that on Storm Point. Look at that, even with the lead.
I mean, people will probably go back, watch this VOD, and start taking some notes to see exactly what happened here, because this is an obscene lead that Team Falcons have right now when it comes to our regular season standings, still maintaining first place, and SSG still maintaining second. And then we start to see some shifts here and there. And the big one, Genome, is the fact that Liquid Alienware jumped up to this first page by 10 different places.
Nice from Liquid Alienware here. And remember, they've only played 3 series. That's a really good spot to be in for TL. And you know, before I was saying, hey, Yanya's gone missing a little bit. Where's he been? And honestly, even looking at the stats from today, Nizel and Jaguares still pulling their weight. And it's awesome to see a really team effort from Team Liquid.
I mean, we've got Cloud9 making a massive leap up here onto the second page. Another 10 places jumped by them. Those, both Liquid and Cloud9 having some really, really strong performances today. Some smaller shifts as well from the rest of these teams in the middle of the pack. And then as we make our way to the third page, Vicky, these teams really need to put in the work.
Yeah, and it's difficult to look at teams like Disguise, unfortunately, you know, still sitting dead last because now they've had to readjust around some team changes that they've had to work with. Something that you could expect on their first day here, but time is of the essence. We're already halfway through Split 2 to see which of these teams are going to qualify for LAN.
All right. I mean, this was an unexpected but very exciting finish on the day from a lot of our squads. It's time for us to focus in on an individual, and I would be remiss if I didn't choose somebody from Team Falcons at this point. Specifically, though, for me, it was Zero. We have harped so many times today on just how good their Storm Point performance was, but we need to put it back in perspective a little bit because I went back and I looked at the numbers, and Zero lived up to his name for those first 3 matches, because let me tell you, he had 0 kills in 3 matches, okay? You put that in stark contrast to their Stormpoint performance, which largely is obviously due to his IGLing, getting the team in situations where they can be successful, where they can be aggressive, where they are in fights that they're going to win, start getting those kills on the board. Went from 0 to 8 kills in matches 4 and 5, and then of course even more here in match 6. It's just insane to end the day with 13 kills, which takes some people all 6 matches to get in the day. It took 0-3, okay? Almost 5k damage as well. I've never seen anything like this before. That was an absolutely stellar performance, obviously on behalf of all 3 of the players on Team Falcons, but dang. And I said that we were going to have some questions about how exactly all of this went down, what we do. We also have Hal standing by, ready to answer them, the CEO himself. Excited to bring him in so we can chat about what happened today. Hal, welcome. And I'm just going to dive right in. Do you guys have like secret side quests to make it harder on yourself that we don't know about? What happened today?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, the same thing happened yesterday where we were kind of just sleeping the first 3 games for some reason. I don't know. I think we kind of like gain momentum as soon as we have like one good game. And as soon as we have that one good game, it's just kind of over for everyone. So it's kind of the same story yesterday too.
I just feel like you guys actually like are in cahoots with the script writers, because that was insane. Y'all didn't drop a single kill the first 3 games of the day and then proceeded to just steamroll on Stormpoint. I mean, talk to us a little bit about the fact that you guys had last pick for Stormpoint for Devastated Coast, how that's kind of come hand in hand with the way that you guys make those quick adjustments. How it's been to play with Zero, who has to make those decisions?
You know, it's kind of like a collective effort. Obviously, you know, Zero does a lot of the macro, but, you know, especially that last game, I encourage everyone to watch last game because that was honestly one of the hardest games I've ever won. But, you know, Zero's amazing at what he does. And honestly, you know, we're just an amazing team. So like, you know, obviously he does his part, I do my part, and Jen does his part. And, you know, we can just do things like this to, you know, make something possible that's impossible.
Look, it's been so cool seeing this team come together and, you know, going from sort of, you know, the biggest rivals essentially in all of ALGS to, you know, sort of rivals within the same team. You know, I've heard you guys after match days talking a lot about like, oh, hey, I got the most kills today and like, and, you know, fighting over that stuff. So has that actually been driving you, trying to not only be the best team, but trying to be the best like within the team and prove yourself that, you know, you're hanging with these guys every day?
Oh yeah, of course. So, you know, like our personalities, especially me and Zero's, are, you know, very competitive and we like to banter within each other. Obviously we don't take it to heart. So it's like, I really like it. You know, I can mess around and we can mess around with each other and it doesn't take it, you know, we don't take it too serious, but, you know, I played pretty bad yesterday. So I made a goal of mine today that, you know, I had to, you know, compensate for that, you know? So I definitely did that. I think, you know, I'm pretty sure I had kill leader. So yeah, I love the internal battles. It makes us all great. And yeah, it's just an amazing team.
Yep, 2 kills ahead of Zero today. Enjoy hanging that on him till the next match day.
Yeah, I'm going to be, oh yeah. I told him you got to pay me more after the last game. So.
Well, we're now officially halfway through the split. You guys have had 2 first place finishes in a series, 2 second place finishes in a series. You're literally untouchable at the top of the overall leaderboards right now with a gap unlike one we've ever seen when it comes to those points. Plain and simple, is there anyone that is going to be able to take you guys out when we get to these playoffs?
To be honest, you know, even though like it's egotistical, you know, we've played, we're showing it, right? Like we've gotten first and second like almost every day. So it's like, you know, it would be different if, you know, we got 5th and then, you know, 1st and then the 5th or something like that. But, you know, I don't think anyone could beat us, honestly. It really, at the end of the day, it's up to us if we're going to lose or not. it's not really other people beating us. It's just us beating ourselves. So yeah, I don't really see anybody beating us as long as we are on the same page and just playing amazing.
Oh, that's a really intense mindset to have, but that's one of the competitors, and it actually leads into my second question. As somebody who was they saw their lackluster results yesterday, saw that they have to do better, and then started off the day without getting kills alongside your team for those first 3 games. Can you explain to the audience like how you are able to keep your mental in check and not snowball negatively, so that way you don't dwell on these past games and just GG go next?
Well, yeah, it was actually funny. After the first 3 games, we were all kind of like in the dumps, and I literally called after the first 3 games that we were going to win in 3 games, like the Storm Point games. So in that like mentality kind of stemmed from Raven, actually, and actually my previous teammates, Evan and Jordan and Raven. We actually had our Discord when we played. The name of it was "It's Not Over Until It's Over." So, and I kind of, because I used to kind of get tilted and, kind of give up, that whole apples and bananas situation. So, my teammates and my coach, back in the day, before Falcons, they were trying to get me out of that mentality. And obviously we proved that in champs. So ever since then, I kind of believe, no matter how many games we have left or how bad we're playing, anything is possible because one, we've done it before and I know what we're capable of. So yeah. You just gotta be confident. You just gotta be confident in yourself, really. It's just that's it.
Yeah, look, and you guys deserve to have every single bit of that confidence, I think. And especially going forward, now that you guys are, all but locked into LAN with that performance you've had today. We were talking to Hackers a little bit earlier today, and Alliance has been known to, try some new things during Pro League. And now that you're in that spot where you kind of don't really have to worry for the rest of the split about performance in terms of qualifying for LAN, is there any space for you guys to do a little bit of experimentation, or do you think it's just, bang blood +1 and that's, you're happy to just stick that out for the moment?
I know Zero wants us to try Fuse, but like in the past, we have not played well, like at all on Fuse. So it's really up. I don't know. We might try out Fuse a little bit. I know that was the plan in the future, but I know we also want to break the world record for Pro League, like points. So we'll see what's more important. But yeah, those are the 2 plans for now.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, you probably broke a record we didn't know existed today alone, so you're on the right track to do that for the rest of the split. We could probably keep you here all day. We won't do that, though. We'll let you go relax for the rest of it. Thank you so much for jumping on, for talking with us, and congratulations again on one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Oh, man. Talk about a great freaking day of Apex, okay? Vicky, give me your final thoughts on what we saw in the region.
I just, the plot armor is so real, but that joke aside that has been overused so many times, it's the fact that this really highlights the type of players Falcons has on their team. What Hal was just talking about with his mental, just having that confidence. I feel like anybody who's ever performed in any type of gaming competition and they are down or has to come out of a loser's bracket, they understand what that mentality is, and you just have to think that you are just better. You know that your fundamentals are better, and the way that they've approached so far this region, they absolutely are on top, and they are still consistent. Even if they are down 3 games with 0 kills, they can still find a way back. Not only that, he got kill leader for the day. Like, those are all kills that they got on Stormpoint alone, and it's been a crazy amount of Apex to witness.
I like I said, it's something we've never seen before, and they are definitely headed for greatness, to say the least. I think that record they're looking for, Genome, is well within their grasp. So give me your final thoughts on what we saw here today.
I mean, and not only, are they going to potentially break that record, but they're going to do it in what is, inarguably the hardest region to compete in for Pro League right now. It's fierce competition from top to bottom here in NA, and that's why originally Zero and Gen moved over here, because they wanted to fight against the best, because they knew that was how they would sharpen their own skills to, well, I guess not really become, but maintain their position as as the best after that win in Sweden. And look, it's really paid dividends, hasn't it, here? And I think the team has only gotten stronger with the addition of Hal. I think there was genuinely 2 players in the world that they could have picked up to better that position above Sykes. I think one was Waly, and I think the other was Hal. And it's just honestly scary for everybody else, to think about how they're going to solve the Team Falcons problem, because it seems like a complete mystery to the rest of the teams in ALGS right now.
Yeah, I mean, today was such an amazing day. You guys matched it with your amazing casting, so thank you so much for lending your voices to us yet again for another weekend of ALGS. But we're done here, but we're not done with the season, okay? We still have an entire half, and it's going to continue on next Saturday with EMEA Match Day 6 at 6 p.m. BST, 1 p.m. ET, and 10 a.m. PT. And after what we saw this weekend, I feel like the rest of the season's only gonna continue to get better. So make sure you tune back in to see how all of it plays out. As always, if you're not able to make it, or if you missed anything here this weekend, just follow us on social media at Play Apex Esports on X and YouTube, as well as at Play Apex on Twitch. And that way you'll be kept up to date with everything we've got going on, and you won't miss a single record when and if, or if and when, definitely when, they are broken. All right, everybody, we're done here for today. But like I said, don't worry, we'll be back next weekend for more ALGS action. So to pass the time, go play some Apex. We'll see you soon, Legends.